Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ring Down Below, an actual play campaign using the Blades in the Dark system, written by John Harper and published by Evil Hat Productions and 1-7 Design. I'm Eli Kurtz, your game master and your host, as always, and I am joined with the three best players that Blades in the Dark GM could ask for, including fan favorite Derek Smith. Oh, man. So there's a guy on YouTube by the name of Lucas G Variety who's been watching this series. So if you get to this episode, Lucas, hey, thanks for commenting. Derek's super pleased.
Yeah, I think we have two fans, so it's great.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Karen, so we're not forgetting about you either. We love you, Karen.
Yeah, no, we love Karen to death, even when she's a cranky elf. But that's neither here nor there. That's a completely different world. So we're going to jump into the game pretty quickly. But first, we wanted to get these character and player introductions done proper. So let's start off with fan favorite Derek Smith.
I'm Derek. I'm a small part of the Mythic Gazetteer. I have no YouTube channel, but you will find me on various games on Eli's channel and some on Jeremy's channel. Hopefully some more. And I need to be on Baron's channel. Come on, Baron. Invite me to a game. I'll be playing Clank. The fan favorite. I was just saying to all the guys, I've been playing stupid characters so much. I really need to play a serious character, but it is fun playing a stupid character. So let's see what mischief I can get into tonight.
Yeah, it's good to cut loose every once in a while, or all the time. You know, whatever you prefer. Next, let's do Jeremy.
Hey everybody, I am Jeremy. I have the YouTube channel, The Erasmus Expeditions. I do a lot of live play games. I have videos where I talk about RPGs. I have a couple of crafting videos. I also am 1/3 of the Dudes of Yore podcast with my friends Chad Nick and Jeff Doty. Also on YouTube. We talk about RPGs and things of that nature and usually get up to a bunch of chuckling. So go check that out. I am stepping back into the shoes of Benji Overstreet. I have been saying for a while that it might be the last time, and who knows? It may be the last time this session, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It's a standing offer. We'll see how it turns out.
Flirting with death every time.
Death is always on the table. And last but not least, Baron.
What's up, everybody? I'm Baron. I run the YouTube channel RWD Gaming, where you can find some D&D live plays as well as Mecha Hack, and I'm also the host of Philip Maddie's Treasure Quest D12 roll under system, where it's pulpy Egyptian treasure goodness, and we'll be running that again tomorrow, March 20th. That'll be our 4th episode, and I am reprising the role of Ezel Valeris, a sleuth and or thief that apparently has hired her rival to do some stuff for us.
Yeah, getting in bed with the enemy, proverbially speaking. That's some hairy stuff.
So, both in reality and in metaphor, I am in bed with both my friends. So...
That's right.
Great game. Having a great time.
Glad to be here. All right, everyone. Well, yeah, as Derek mentioned, this AP is produced by the Mythic Gazetteer, which is the company that Derek and I own together, and we've published a bunch of stuff. We've got some more stuff on the horizon, but right now this is sort of our bread and butter, and that's pretty good. Also, the Mythic Gazetteer is a member of the IGDN, and we've been doing IGDN member spotlights. That's the Indie Game Developer Network. I am going to branch out a little bit and do a spotlight for just a fellow creator. Her name is Nell Raban, and you can find her on Twitter at NellDuell. You can also find her on Itch, which is a new-ish storefront platform for role-playing games. They just recently opened up a forum, so if you're interested in joining an online community that is focused a lot on making and playing games in a positive atmosphere, then go check that out. It's a really cool place. I just recently became a mod there, so that's exciting. But what I want to highlight from Nell's work is a game that she's working on right now called Home Again. It's a Powered by the Apocalypse game that, 40 years ago, The Ta'o people and their island community were transported by some unknown means to the outskirts of a modern city. Play as members of the Ta'o community that have grown up with this legacy and fight every day to build on it in the face of a society that doesn't understand them or care to. This is a game that's still in development, but you can find it on our itch page, so be sure to go check that out. It's very cool. I've taken a glance, and there's a lot to like about it already. Can't wait to see the finished product. But that's enough of that. It's time for us to get down to Ring Down Below. So, welcome, listeners. KMGX and its affiliated stations are proud to present Gazetteer Radio's program, Ring Down Below, a tale of labor and struggle from the pitch-dark canals of Doskvol. This, our looming metropolis, known to sailors as North Hook, is kept safe from the Deathlands thanks only to the dogged work of the Leviathan hunters, who prowl the seas for demon blood to keep the gears of Doskvol turning and our lightning wall burning through this endless night. We go now to the crew's lair, where they prepare for an important meeting. So, we start off above the surface of the Void Sea, as always, and we can see this light coming up from the depths somewhere, sort of forming a ring around us, but we flee from that quickly. And soon enough, we are at the lightning wall of Doskvol. We can see it crackling, a forbidding presence for any ghosts or summoned horrors or devils that might be outside of the lightning wall. But also, unfortunately, the thing that keeps ghosts and devils and other horrors penned inside the city as well. It is not a utopia. But we go through the lightning wall and we feel that tingling over our skin. We feel the popping of our ears as we would as if we were drawing near to a spirit well. And we go over the waters of the bay into the docks area. And then we go through Crow's Foot and across some bridges and into Silk Shore. And we find ourselves at the front door of the abandoned warehouse that is made home by the crew of the Electric Eek. And you all are just exiting this door to go out to a meeting for some very important stuff that you've been working on for this past little while. As we talked before the game, there are some clocks that you've helped to advance recently. That includes the dockers getting their own ship and their own crew, and the dockers negotiating for higher wages. And it sounded like the plurality response was that you were interested in making this a meeting about the dockers getting their own ship and crew together. Is that right?
I certainly see that as a benefit to the overall goal of the dockers here.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So then, you all close the door, you lock it up, you do whatever. Clank probably set some traps, just in case.
Oh, Clank has set special traps even. Because now he can set traps that keep ghosts from showing up.
Sorry about that, my cat fell off my lap.
I shall reread it then. I
Yeah,
said Clank can set special traps that keep ghosts from coming by. I have a ghost ward now.
Ah, very cool. Is this a special ability that you've chosen?
It is. When I wreck, I can wreck an area with arcane substances, and it can be either anathema. Ghosts don't like it, or it's enticing to spirits.
Okay, very cool and good to know. So I'm assuming you're setting up this one in particular to keep ghosts away.
Yes, we all hate ghosts now.
Yeah, of course, of course. All right then. Well, you walk out into the night, and it turns out that it is a stormy night. Thunder and lightning are crashing overhead. The rain is driving down. But you've got to get yourself to the docks because you've got this meeting with the dockers to figure out some stuff about getting a ship and a crew together. So, Izel, this morning, when you woke up into yet another dreary night in Doskvol, you had a bad omen of some kind, something that's kind of personal to you. What was this omen?
So I have some family ties from Severos. I believe that's the other island. And they have some old wives' tales that are passed down for like omens of bad spirits or bad luck or, misfortune in your future. And I think I'm probably getting the vibe that this is like like you said, a bad omen. So I think what I see is I'm awoken in the night. You said it's the middle of the night that this kind of stirring happens. I think there is like a cat or something that was hit by a carriage or was attacked by another animal and is not dead but dying in the street. And like this being in front of the threshold of where you sleep is considered a bad omen of some
Yeah,
kind.
okay. Very cool. I wasn't going to ask another question, but now I'm curious. Benji, what's weird about Duskfall cats?
They have a singular eye in the middle of their face.
Okay. And that's like every cat, just a one-eyed little creature. Otherwise, the same
Yep.
fluffy, adorable little monsters that we know and love. Very cool. All right. So, yeah, you see this dead cat. I think you wake up and you exit the door, you close it. Clank sets his traps, and then as soon as you turn
Oh
around,
well, Clank takes that to feed his feathered crabs.
takes the dying animal.
Yeah.
Okay. Izel, what's your reaction to this, huh?
Clank, you do not bring that in the house. That is a terrible omen. You don't even want it in front of your doorstep, let alone in your house.
Well, it's not going to be in my house. That's the lair.
Clank, humor me. Anything but that. Throw that out.
Clank-
Kill it.
Clank-
Please,
Clank does
get
a
it
little-
out of here.
Clank does a little jig for her.
Stop it.
He's humor. You said to humor you.
Clank, this is not the time nor the place.
That is true, but the feathered crabs are hungry. I'll be right back.
Benji.
Huh? What?
You're no help. All right.
Okay. If you say so.
All right, so Clank gets his chance to go feed these feathered crabs, totally trampling over the bad omen that Izel detected in the morning. And so you bundle up, you get your raincoats, you get your umbrellas, whatever it might be,
Oh,
and you head
well,
out into the streets.
What is Benji wearing, Jeremy?
He's wearing his dark long coat with the collar upturned, as always.
Okay.
Brooding.
So Clank is going to try to emulate that look as well. Not as successful, but he's got his Benji coat on.
Not nearly as fine quality, though.
It's not.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so you all are walking down the street. You're kind of, like dodging underneath awnings and that sort of thing to kind of lessen the rain, because the rain just won't really let up. And in fact, the buildings are stacked pretty high in Duskfall, and the lightning strikes are hitting lightning rods that are up on the rooftops as you're going down. And eventually, the lightning gets intense enough that you realize you probably need to get out of the main street. It's a little too wide, it's a little too open, and you might get electrocuted or something. So you start to take some side streets through Crow's Foot, headed from Silk Shore over to the docks. And Clank, as you're walking down this alleyway, you can feel the hairs on the back of your neck start to stand up.
Clank grabs Izel and Benji and says, "There's something here."
Goodness, Clank, I don't see anything.
That's what it wants you to see.
Clank, you're always jumping at shadows.
Where's the shadow?
There are a lot of shadows in this alleyway. It doesn't have any gas lamps or anything like that that are lighting it, but you you've maybe been down this alley once or twice before. You at least know that it leads to a street that you're familiar with.
Let's get out of here. This way. Go this way.
All right, so you turn off and head down some other side street, or you just like forge ahead to the street where you're headed?
Forge ahead.
Okay. So as you're going, you can hear the wind kind of howling down this alleyway, right? It's being funneled through this alleyway, and it's a little louder than it would be out on the street. And you're about halfway down the alley when you start to hear a voice on the wind. It takes a little while to make out, but eventually you can detect ring down below.
Clink started whispering it as well.
What's the reaction from Benji?
Ooh, wind. He just kind of pulls his collar up a little higher, just kind of pressing on and trying to pretend like he's not hearing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Izel, I don't know that you've had any direct contact with this concept of ring down below that's been haunting the crew. Have you?
I was actually just thinking that, and that was definitely more Jonathan's shtick. He was more the conspiracy theorist, if anything.
Yeah. I know surely you haven't had any encounters with, like you weren't a part of those nightmares that happened in season 1 or anything like that.
Nope. So, I mean, in terms of ghost interaction outside of the demon blobfish, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Didn't you receive a lot of your training from Jonathan though?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, my specialties come from my more rigorous upbringing. I had to like sneak off to get away from social interactions and appearances and stuff. So,
Okay.
Uncle Jonathan is just an admirable guy.
All right. Yeah, so you're heading down here and you can hear this voice on the wind, but you can't quite make out what it's saying. Something about down something. But then you hear the voice continue. Oh, ring down, you fools.
Clink talks to Benji. Benji.
Clank, that's not necessary.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, look, we're just walking. We have a plan for this evening, and we're going to stick to it. All I want to do is just get this stupid meeting over with. And
The two of you are walking really fast.
what?
As soon as Izel says that, there's a lightning strike that's like 5 feet in front of Clank and Benji trying to hurry down this alleyway, and it knocks both of them backwards several feet. I don't know if it maybe knocks them off of their feet, but it definitely staggers them backward a little bit.
Clink makes a very unclink-like sound.
Can we hear that sound, please?
Unfortunately, Derek can't make that sound.
It's a couple octaves too high.
Yeah.
Benji absolutely ends up on his ass in a puddle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and you're like wet in this puddle, and it's strange. You feel like there's that moment right after the lightning strikes where there's almost silence, and it feels like the moment is suspended for a time, as if, whoa, I just survived that. But the water that's beneath you, you can smell the spray of the salt of the sea underneath you here. And like, the sea is not too far away from where you are, but the salty smell of the sea and the kind of coppery blood smell that suffuses the void sea are both right here with you. And Benji, you can smell it, and you might think that it's, because you're sitting in this puddle, but the other two can smell it as well. And then no sooner do the three of you realize that this is something that you personally are smelling, than there's this moment where all the hair on all of your bodies stands on end. And then there's this huge crash as an arc of lightning bursts from the ground 5 or so feet in front of you where it struck the first time, and it shoots up into the sky, but it doesn't go away. There is this lightning strike that is just crackling in front of you, frozen in place almost. And there's a word that is burned into your mind. It's a word that you've never seen before. It's a name that is strange to you, but you can feel its power and you can feel its incredible malevolence. This name is Azarax. And this lightning strike, crackling, blue-green, yellow in front of you, arcing all the way up to the sky where you can see the rain whipping back and forth, and you can see the lightning as it gets up into the clouds is arcing out in every direction. And then you hear this voice again, and it says, "Ring down below. Oh, ring down. Fall down. I command you." And Benji, you're already on the ground. Clank and Ezel, you can feel your legs starting to give out underneath you, and you're being drawn down to your knees as if kneeling in front of this arc of lightning that's just playing out right in front of you. You're welcome to resist this if you want to, but is anybody interested in doing that? Ezel? All right, cool. So this is going to be a resolve resistance.
Okay.
This is definitely like a supernatural effect.
Right.
Got a 3. Okay, so you're going to take 3 stress then. As you find the will to remain standing.
I think this kind of ties into just the rigors of the social interaction and upper class. You have to kind of behave a certain way even if you're not feeling well or whatever. So this is just instinct. And it hurt me apparently because this may be a short game for me if I don't play my cards right.
Are you getting close to trauma?
Unfortunately, yeah, I thought so.
Okay, well, we'll see. All right, so all of you are drawn down to your knees, and as you look up, you're kind of drawn to look at this lightning arc, even though it's just blindingly bright in front of you. And the arc starts to spit out smaller static arcs on the ground around it, and they're spreading out to where eventually they envelop you. And there's this arc that goes up above right in front of you, and it's maybe like the size of an arm or something. It's a thick cord of electricity. But then all these smaller arcs on the ground are playing out around you, and they dance over you a little bit. You can feel the static shock of them, and you are encased in this ring of electric energy, and you can see other figures here inside this ring with you. You're on one side of the lightning arc, and on the other side of the lightning arc, there are 6 figures that are wreathed in shadow. You can see that they are a mix of tall and short, large and slender, man and woman, concealed, etc. And then 2 are illuminated by the lightning arc. The other 4 are still hidden, but you see 2 of them. They are LaRose, and they are Celine, Jonathan Black's old rival. And Benji, as soon as you recognize LaRose, images flash through your mind. The image of you standing over LaRose right before you deliver the killing blow. The image of the dreams that you had, where LaRose was on the operating table. And then all of a sudden you were on the operating table, and LaRose was floating over you, and the ring of light was coming out of its mouth, and it was shouting at you about this ring down below. And Celine, you can all see here, Celine, an image flashes through your mind of Jonathan Black leading a group of dockers into the Leviathan Hunter ship where Celine was set up, and showing how these dockers should turn the tide against Celine and kick her out of there and drive her from the city. And then both LaRose and Celine dissolve into the air, and there are only the 4 figures remaining. Would any of you like to try and recognize any of these 4 figures? I think maybe like a study or a survey roll might be good for that sort of thing.
I'm certainly down to. Is this going to stress me out if I fail?
No.
Okay, yeah.
This is going to
absolutely.
be essentially a fortune roll, so position and effect don't matter, and consequences won't really happen.
I don't know any of these people.
You got a 3?
I got a 1.
A 1. Oh God. Okay, yeah, you don't quite know any of these people.
I guess if we can just try, I guess. Then
Sure,
Clint
yeah.
will try. So you said roll a study?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
or survey, your choice.
Oh, it's 0 pips in either of them, so it doesn't really matter.
All right.
Oh, a 3.
A 3? All right, yeah. You notice like one of these figures looks like somebody that you've seen before, but you can't place them. All right, we're getting the bad rolls out of the way first. It's another 3, I think, or is that a 1? A 1. Wow, okay, yeah. Good thing we didn't have consequences for these rolls, huh? So you all are looking, but at this point the light from the lightning is really starting to blind you. And the figures are starting to not fade away in the same way that Celine and LaRose did, but you're just not able to see them as well. There's like they're rimmed in light from the after image of this lightning arcing it right in front of you. And you hear the voice again. Ring down below. Oh, ring down. Yes, you've met up with a devil. And then the lightning arc starts to strobe. And there's this really pronounced light and dark as the arc itself flickers in and out of existence. And then there's a silent moment where you think the arc has gone completely, and the ring of electricity around you is dying out and sputtering into the water and the walls, and the figures that were standing before you are completely gone. And it seems like the moment has passed. The hairs on your neck and elsewhere start to recede or start to lie down a little bit. But all of a sudden, the floor, right where this lightning struck, bursts upward, and a huge, like 4 foot wide or so, cyclone of sea salt water bursts up from the ground and goes all the way up to the clouds. And there's this gigantic as lightning like arcs out of the cyclone. All the windows that are near this alleyway, all of the like wooden boxes and everything burst. And the cyclone starts to expand a little bit. And you can see that underneath the cyclone, the floor is starting to fall away into some sort of abyss. You can't even really see what's down there. But it's time for you all to get out of here. You can feel the imminent danger of this moment. So what do you all do to flee the scene?
Clint goes full Batman.
You've got the magnetic line thrower or something?
Yes.
Okay.
So I look at Benji and Ezel, and he mouths sorry.
Do you shoot your line up to the rooftop where all the lightning is, or maybe like back down the alleyway, or what? Are you fleeing heedless into danger, or are you being tactical about this?
No, up to the rooftops because he doesn't want to be near that floor.
All right. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I don't even really need a roll from you for this. You know, you just like shoot your line up and it drags you up to the rooftops and you land there. Benji and Ezel, you just saw Clank cut and run. Maybe not unexpected because of his history with dealing with, you know, special spectral horrors and that sort of thing. But what do you two do?
I am pretty unstable these days, and so I think I'm going to turn and run.
Okay, you're just going to turn and book it back the way you came?
Yeah,
Okay.
none of this.
Cool.
Not having it.
So you turn and you get out of there. Benji, you're the last one here, maybe still on your ass in the middle of this alleyway or something, but like scrambling backwards away as the bricks fall out from under your feet. and you can see there's a light coming from this hole now, and there is a figure that looks like it's beginning to emerge from the hole. It is none other. You can see these like spindly arms with this sort of glowing light coming off of them, glowing spines coming off of them, and it's starting to reach over the lip of this hole and pull itself out. You know that another one of these Watcher creatures is about to emerge, and this one looks like it's the biggest one that you've seen so far. What do you do to get out of this situation?
So I think Benji has been kind of almost crab walking backwards until he's gotten enough distance that he can kind of turn over on his hands and knees and is scrambling to his feet with the help of a barrel next to him. And he kind of looks over his shoulder and he's just sweating bullets. And he immediately takes that barrel and kind of throws it haphazardly kind of towards these creatures. And he starts doing that with everything in this alleyway as he's running as fast as he can away. He's just turning and tossing down crates and barrels and things to try to, in his mind, slow down any pursuit in his desperation.
Very cool. All right, so you're running in the same direction as Izel? Okay.
Yes, away from it.
Cool. All right, so you all take off in different directions. Izel and Benji are sort of running in the same direction, but they're at different, Izel's got a heavy lead on Benji. Clank, you get up to the rooftop, and you can immediately realize the danger that you've put yourself in. You get up, and every feature of this rooftop is lit in excruciating detail as the lightning is just like amplifying and multiplying above you. And you can see that the wind is whipping you around. The water is lashing your face like nails or something. And then all three of you, as you're running, can hear that voice, that same voice that you heard earlier, but louder and angrier and deeper inside your mind. And it says,
"Flee Duskfall and never return."
And you realize this can be only one thing. This is a demonic presence. And it has given you an ultimatum. So, I want to know a few things. First, do you show up to the meeting that you were headed to? Or have you abandoned those plans in light of what's happening here?
Benji is not going to a meeting after this.
Yeah.
The Docker's cause has always been kind of ancillary to Benji's goals. He's happy to help when he can, especially, whenever that was kind of the goal of the crew of the Eek. But these days, he's a little more selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck him.
All right. Clank, what about you?
Clank's paranoia is kicking in. He's freaked the fuck out. And he's trying to get off the roof, and he just wants to go home, hide under his bed for a while. Say this isn't happening. This isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Izel, what about you?
Yeah, I don't really think in that regard either that Izel was a very prominent figure in this whole movement. So I certainly didn't go to any meeting.
Okay. All right. So I think the Dockers are left high and dry. And it takes... Somebody want to roll a fortune with just 1d6 for me? A 3. So it takes 3 days before you all are calmed down to the point where you can meet up at the lair again and talk about what just happened.
No.
So
No.
Clank, you are probably like doing anything you can to distract from this conversation, right?
Yep. Nothing happened. That was a group hallucination.
Mm-hmm. And Izel, over the past 3 days, what has pursued you? What feeling has made you think that this thing didn't go away? This thing demanded that you do something, and it is watching somewhere invisible.
You know, when you haven't been doing much like physical activity and you get kind of just cold all over, and then you go outside and it's like a damp cold, and then it gets in, and you're just like totally fucked. I am cold and just kind of achy and um like my hands feel dry. I probably occasionally get like the flicks of the hair on the back of the neck, but that's less often as compared to just the overall like chill of the air.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And Benji, what is it that makes you decide you need to talk to the others about this? What's the moment of the event?
Hmm. I think that the last 3 days, Dustball has continued to get hammered by bizarre lightning strikes.
Mm.
And it's kind of one of those things where I've decided that it's not just going to go away, that this is dominating like my waking and attempted sleeping thoughts. So he's gonna kind of gather Clank and Izel together to see if there's something that they can do to get to the bottom of it.
Okay. Yeah. So let's set the scene here. We're in the lair. We're somewhere else. Where's the place for the conversation?
Like, if I had to guess, maybe Clank has been busying himself, like working on stuff. So maybe in
There's
place.
there's a bunch of stuff.
The lair is even more cluttered than usual.
Like there's hardly a path you can walk through without setting off something that would take off a limb.
Very good. Very good. All right. So you all pick your way through to the common room of the lair, and it is as secure as Clank could possibly make it. Who starts the conversation?
Well, I've brought a bottle. Kind of chilly.
Give it.
I would hand it over.
Clank just downs it.
Don't worry, Benji. I brought two. I gave him the worst of them, by the way.
Wonderful. And Benji is actually finishing crushing up more of these amphetamines and putting them in the bottom of a glass that's been wiped clean, at least.
Clank will
And
hold his hand out for some.
Yeah, I think Azal would even be like, do you mind?
No, of course. He puts like 4 or 5 in each of their hands.
We used to do this back in college during exams.
I've been doing them for the last 3 days. I haven't slept.
I have a little.
Sleep. We're already all asleep. That was just a dream. We haven't woken up yet.
I wish it was the case, Clank, but no, I don't think it's a dream.
You're right. It's a nightmare.
That I could agree with, yes. But we need to figure out something. I can't go on this way any longer.
I heard if we all jump off the roof, that'll wake us up.
Believe me, I've thought about it.
Gentlemen, I believe you are letting your fears get the best of you. What happened, happened, but there's certainly no reason to jump off a
I
building.
refuse to accept that. Yeah, that didn't happen.
This isn't the first time that we've had something like this happen, Isel.
No, and it certainly wouldn't be keen to your interests or anyone else's to let it be the last.
No, I would be perfectly fine if it was the last, actually.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
fine.
no more. Please, no more.
I suppose that's the difference between beggars and choosers.
I'll beg.
I don't think it'll change the outcome any.
But my point is, we have to figure out why this is happening. What it is that's drawing all of these, whatever they are, whatever is drawing them to us. We have to stop it.
Well, perhaps if we took a moment. And she would like down a shot of whatever it was that she had brought and think about it, we can deduce why these are happening. When did it start? Why have these events propagated themselves in your lives? Furthermore, involved me.
I don't.
Maybe it's because of you. Out.
Clank, I help pay rent. You can't kick me out.
I've been running it over in my head for the last 3 days and nights, and I think it's been 3 days. Anyways, I think it has something to do with the ring down below.
That ring toss game?
No,
The sailing jig that the Leviathan hunters seen?
There's an underground group that uses the name.
Underground group. Benji, now you're something like Uncle Jonathan.
Well,
Are you talking about those people? Not saying I saw those people, but those people
yes,
there.
LaRose was one of them.
Didn't we kill him?
I think he's currently serving out his existence trapped inside of a metallic body, if I'm not mistaken. Serves him right. The other was that captain Jonathan had the run-in with. What was her name?
I believe in passing he said her name was Celine or something.
Celine, that was it. She was there as well.
One of the others looked familiar.
From where?
I might have dated them.
Clank. He kind of slaps Clank on the shoulder. That doesn't narrow it down.
None at all.
There's an ominous roll of thunder outside.
Well, the way I see it, you can either confront your problems or you can run from them.
I'm okay with running.
I don't know what else to do. I can't sleep. I don't know how long I can keep this up.
Well, as of now, you have plenty of time. None to waste.
If whatever is going on, it has something to do with this group of people, then maybe we need to just eliminate them. We can just do what we've done with some of the rest and just bury them.
Ezel is quiet. Probably looking at the floor.
No, nothing, Clank. You don't have some kind of device that could, I don't know, blow them all up.
Said burn this whole place down.
Duskfall.
That'll get them.
You know, I'm starting to think that you may not be as crazy as you let on, Clank.
Burn Duskfall to the ground? You insane?
Why not?
It's one of the few refuges humanity has left on this
This
god-forsaken
place?
planet.
This place is a refuge. Against
Have you-
what?
Benji, you and I have the comfort of never going out beyond the wall longer than we are permitted. Would you choose to live there?
We're not safe from anything in here.
Certainly a lot safer behind the walls than the hordes of who knows what is out there.
I can keep the ghosts away
For how long?
as long as I'm alive.
You've already stated that that doesn't apparently appear to be very much longer.
Then
What
I
we
don't
saw-
have much to worry about.
What we saw the other night, I don't think it was only a ghost. I've dealt with having a ghost before. That was something else entirely. I think it was a demon.
You shut your mouth. There are no Taka demons here.
Clank, how else do you explain it?
You remember when we went to see my old girlfriend? Mal?
Yeah,
There was something there, and I did not like it. I don't want to be near those again.
I agree, very much so. But that's. It appears that our problems are going to hound us until they are dealt with. It's not something that we can continue to simply run away from, Isel.
Benji, I don't know if it's the amphetamines or the drink talking, but you simply just agreed with me. And I don't think I could have said it any better myself. So why don't we deal with them?
Well, now we're finally listening to my ideas. So we're going to burn down the city.
This thing threatened for us to leave the city or else.
And if we burn it down, it's gone. And we left.
I guess I fail to see the bigger picture out of the choice of die or die.
The city seems to be overrun. I don't understand what. I don't understand what else to do. We have to find out who this group is, how this is connected. Maybe somehow they've roped this demon into, I don't know, some kind of contract with them. That's the way that these things work, I think. Maybe it's sent. Maybe that group sent this demon to try to scare us away.
Well, then I suppose, as 1/3 of the EEC, I only have a contributing vote of 1/3. I vote for dealing with the problem.
I think we've agreed that we all want to deal with the problem, but it's a matter of how, Isel. How do we deal with this problem?
Hound it like it hounds us, maybe?
So we find out the identities of these shrouded individuals, the rest of them, and we kill every last one of them. We agreed?
I would extend a hand. Agreed.
Clank will raise his cannon. No, you weren't
No,
muted.
you weren't.
I was muted on the recording.
Oh.
So this is your firework cannon. You're like hefting up as if you're ready to shoot it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so you all want to try and figure out who these people are. Is that what I heard?
Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
So here's what I'm thinking. There is a clock that you've started that would uncover some of this information. And I am going to rule that, like, if you do a score to address a clock, like if you do it as a score instead of just doing it in downtime, then you could tick a lot more than just one tick on that clock, right? So like, you know, the stuff that you've done already, kind of helping the Dockers out, has clearly been agitating this entity, this Azarax creature, whatever it is. And these people are connected to Azarax. We know that LaRose was somehow connected. We know that Celine was somehow connected. These are your leads that you can follow to figure out the other people who are involved. And I think gather information would be appropriate here to try and find stuff out. But then in terms of like making a major step forward, once you've got those leads, the score would be how we would really find some solid information here. Or figure out, you know, like the gather information might identify a lead, and then the score would be to, you know, maybe take another one of those mysterious 4 figures down or something like that. So does anybody have any immediate ideas about gather information stuff you'd like to do?
I think Benji should figure out someone who can figure out the rest of his dream, and then that could lead us to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I will continue to dig with people who might know more about this LaRose dream. Just getting into contact with more spiritual advisors, the kinds of people that you know, Mel is, as well as maybe people who knew LaRose. Just trying to gather as much information as I can by talking to as many people as I can.
Okay. So you want to do this as a gather information thing, or you want to do this as a downtime activity in free play where you advance the clock?
So advancing the clock won't necessarily help us with the score. So I am going to do this as a means of gathering information.
Okay, cool. So you are working over some spiritual contacts, maybe starting with Clank's contact, Melissa.
Yeah.
And you are just trying to figure out, you know, like people who might be connected to LaRose, and that's how you're bringing your dream into this, or
just doing both, hitting people who know more about spirituality and therefore maybe about demons and like the kind of demon that, you know, I saw based on the description in my dream, what it could mean, you know, what it, you know, that kind of stuff, but also doubling down with people who might have known LaRose to see if I can gather any more information that way.
Cool. Okay.
So
yeah.
Just trying to use consort essentially.
Okay, I like that. So go ahead and give me a roll there, and we will see how it turns out.
Position and effect don't matter?
Correct.
Okay, and I am using consort for gathering information for a target for a score? No.
I mean, target for a score might be appropriate if you're going to try and, you know, use the score to fill up the rest of that clock. Then you could be using this to identify a target.
Because I have weaving the web.
Yeah, that's right.
Add die to this if I'm gathering information on a target, but I don't know that I want to make. Well, I mean, yeah. If I end up finding information about a specific person who maybe knows LaRose or something, and they were somehow connected, so I'll go ahead and lean on that.
Okay, sounds good. So go ahead and give me that consort roll, and we'll see how things turn out.
5.
5, not bad, not bad. So you get some information. You are working over some of these spiritual contacts. You kind of spend a day or two spreading word around, and it seems like Melista is probably the one who's going to be able to help you the most. She's the right combination of influential, powerful, and connected to you. So you approach Melista, and you're kind of asking about these things, and Melista says, well, we could always talk to LaRose.
There's not a lot that I have to say to him, but
Perhaps something different then. We don't speak to him. We delve into his spirit, and we learn the awful truths. We see the web in which he was ensnared.
you can do that.
I can.
How much do you need?
Oh. 3 coin.
While we're in there, is there a way to cause him anguish?
It will be excruciating.
Then I'll give you 4 coin.
4. Yes, come back tonight and bring any friends who might have been close to LaRose. Primary or secondary connections. Yes, we must build the web. Yes, this is the way forward, the way inside.
Do they need to be alive?
Well, the spirit of life is powerful.
I'll take that as a yes then.
Leave and come back to me. So I don't need you to do like a big role-playing thing where we gather these people together. I'm just curious what people you're going to bring to Melista to conduct this ritual.
So we already established that Darmo worked with LaRose at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're both bluecoats together. LaRose wasn't on the same case that...
Okay, so maybe
Or
not.
Darmo, I should say, wasn't on the same case as LaRose where he was investigating the dock stuff. But, they're on the force together.
I'm not sure Isel would let you do that anyway, Benji.
Who says anything about let me?
Oh, okay.
Technically, I don't know about this, so
Right.
Right.
I can be very upset with you afterward.
Let me see. Mr. Fitz was LaRose's contact that we were supposed to be squeezing.
Mm-hmm.
Find out the information that we had, so he might be a possibility. I don't know how in the hell I'd managed to convince him to come to this, but
Benji was involved. Clank was involved in his assassination.
Mr. Fitz's?
No, in LaRose's.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I mean, Jonathan Black was involved in the assassination too, and Isel is connected to Jonathan Black, so that's the secondary connection there.
Too bad you killed that prostitute.
Yeah, right? I was just thinking that.
Mr. Fitz is connected to LaRose, and Jenna is connected to Mr. Fitz.
Oh, okay. I am going to bring Clank and Isel.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Well, I'm going to try to convince the two of them to come with me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna con Jenna into being there too somehow.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What is that con like? Are you trying to? Are you luring her out as yourself? Are you adopting a persona to do that, or what?
Yeah, I'm going to develop like a persona, and I'm gonna try to con her into coming.
Okay. I mean, it's successful. So
Okay.
all we need to determine at this point is if Clank and Ezel are going to join as well.
That's up to them.
Well, I mean,
Is this
you're
gonna
gonna have to convince Clank. He doesn't really want to go back to the ex-girlfriend who had her demon god like go into Clank's body and make him move and break his arm almost, I think.
All you got to do is behave this time.
Yeah, is this going to be stressful to me in any way?
No, not really.
Yeah, Ezel's fine with going.
I think you'd have to like trick Clank somehow. Like he wouldn't go willingly. Clank
Places individual.
Derek will have him go, but Clank doesn't want to go.
Okay. Benji tells Clank that. Oh damn it! I just lost her name. The amphetamines lady,
Stasia.
Stasia. That Stasia is heading to Mel's to confront her about you.
Oh, we can't. No, why would she do that? Let's go. Let's go right now.
It's perfect. Okay, so you all arrive in the vault underground, this sort of like sewer undercroft crypt place where Melissa and her cult hang out. And already the place is covered with these wires that are leading to electroplasmic batteries around the corners of the room. And the wires crisscross each other, and they're suspended off the ground a little bit in the shape of a web. And Melissa says, good. We have 3 who will join the ritual.
There may be a 4th,
A 4th.
perhaps.
Good. Which one of you will sacrifice your life?
Perhaps the 4th.
Sorry, that was a brilliant reaction. Yes, very well.
Wait a minute, Benji. Stasia is not being. You're not
was-
sacrificing Stasia.
I was seriously misled in what we were completely doing here. I did give our lives, give a life. I suppose I know that's the ultimate goal, but
Well, they might not die. Perhaps.
I'm beginning to remember why we broke up.
you dated her. You dated her.
You silly man. We broke up because I found a larger entity to serve.
That's not very nice.
Neither is it.
It's not about the size of your entity; it's how you use it.
Oh. About this time, there's a commotion outside the crypt where this is all taking place, and Jenna is led in, armbarred by 2 cultists. There are these 2 tough-looking women who kind of drag Jenna in there, and she's screaming up a storm, "What the hell are you doing here? Who you think you are? Get your hands off me!"
Benji, don't you know her?
No, nope. He kind of steps into the shadow of like a column that kind of supports the kind of vaulted ceiling down here. Kind of like disappears into a shadow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Jenna gets like dragged over, and Melissa is like, "Well, to the center of the web with you," and she holds her arm out, and she just like moves her hand up into the sky or up into the air, and Jenna lifts off the ground, and immediately she's just entranced and floats over like through the air over onto the center of the web here. And Melissa looks back and she says, 3 conduits. Take your points along the outside of the web.
Clank whispers to Benji. Stasia's not coming, right?
Maybe she canceled. And kind of Benji steps over to position far away from Clank.
Here? Am I supposed to be here? Oh, okay.
I think Jenna is probably pulled, like, as she was coming in past Ezel, and Ezel's like, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry," because I don't have any connection with these people. And as she's kind of like possessed, it's like, oh, they're quite efficient here.
Melissa looks at you. Sympathy? Oh. Well.
Sympathy, not so much. Courtesy, yes. And I'll take my spot.
If the will of the conduits is united, perhaps the vessel will survive. And then she looks at Benji and she looks at Clank. But is there unity in this room? Hard to see. So, you all take your positions around the outside of the web?
Clink raises his hand.
Yes, darling.
The conduits, how will we fare?
Oh, you'll be fine. No more than a tickle, I promise.
Like what you used to do to me?
Something like that.
That's not good, guys. It's not good at all.
I kind of regret standing in this position now.
So, this is really just the build up to the result of your gather information roll. So we're really like spooling ahead of or outside the scope of what the roll is supposed to do. How about oh geez. Let's do this. Each of you roll 1d6. And if the numbers are within one step of each other, if all three are within one step of each other, then no, wait. Roll resolve. Do like a resolve resistance roll. And if the highest result is within one thing of each other, then Jenna will survive. Hey, look at that. All right.
We are so in sync.
A 3, a 2, and a 2. You're all deeply uncomfortable in this moment, and it doesn't quite tickle. It's a bad kind of tickle. But the conduit array works, and you can feel sort of your own electroplasmic energy extending out of your body toward Jenna into these conduits that just hover right above the electroplasmic lines, the cables that are going in toward the center. And then Jenna arcs her back, and it doesn't look like she's in pain, but it looks like she's bending further, Benji, than you realized she could. It looks like she's just like discovered some new level of flexibility here. And so she's arced her back, and she's her eyes roll back into her head, but she seems completely at peace otherwise. And she says, she starts like speaking really rapidly in a language that no one can understand. And then Melissa sort of lifts her hand up and holds it over the web. And the words that are coming out of Jenna's mouth morph. And you can hear her say, LaRose and Fitz, 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 and who else, LaRose and Fitz, and a third, LaRose and Fitz, and a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth. But the third, the spray of the sea, the clanking of gears, the docks, the warehouse. Helker. Money and power running between the three. LaRose and Fitz and Helker. These three. The web. These three. The conduits. These three. The ring down below. Yes, the ring! And then Jenna just starts laughing, and she's cackling more and more. And she doesn't seem like she's distressed here. It seems like she's exerting herself, but it's sort of like a positive sort of exertion. And then she just starts cackling, and Melissa watches this for a little while. And you can see the look on Melissa's face is growing a little more and more sadistic. And Clank, what is it that you say to jar Melissa out of this sort of perverse focus of hers?
Hold on. I think he just yells, "Helker! That's Snake! I'll kill him!"
Ah, yeah, okay. Melissa is like, death! And she pulls the electroplasmic energy that's arcing from these conduits. Not from you all, I'm sorry, from the cables, right? The web of cables that's arrayed around here. She pulls the lightning away from those cables and into her hand. And you can see her just like writhing in ecstasy. And you notice now that she's actually floating above all of these goings on too. And then she lands on the ground and she goes, that ritual is often much less pleasant. But Clank, Ezel, Benjamin, you have your answer?
I think we do. We at least have a place to start. He kind of looks at the other two with kind of a leveled seriousness.
She motions behind her, and a cultist comes over to you. This is a really short woman. Yeah, a really short, like, heavier set woman. And she walks up and she holds out her hands. And Melissa says, payment?
Okay, so pulling money out of stash, it's a 2-to-1, right?
Yeah, correct.
You have to pay 2 to get 1. Okay.
Yeah.
So Benji,
We have crew coin, Jeremy.
oh, it's fine. Like Benji is, he has a lot of money.
Okay.
He's fine. So he goes back to the entrance that they kind of came down here through, and retrieves like a small chest. It looks, I imagine it's probably somewhat maritime, like in its design. It's probably like a seaman's chest, and it's like laden with bars of some kind of like precious metal, that probably bear his family's like stamp, and hands it to this person.
Okay.
It's well spent.
The weight of it is clear whenever you hand this chest off. And the cultist accepts it and then backs away with a head bowed. And Melissa says, very well. Off with you. There are other rituals to conduct, rituals that are more powerful and more important.
But I doubt they'll make you quite as rich. Thank you. And he kind of leaves.
All right. She just kind of smiles as the three of you filter out. And we're going to take a quick break before we resume, but you have identified a target. So, and it's somebody who's been around for a while. So who knows where this is going to go. But for those of you watching, we're going to be back in, let's say, 10 minutes. And until then, keep your eyes peeled because we are on the prowl. Welcome back, everyone. We had our break, and we are ready to go with maybe right into a score, maybe just with a little bit of prep, but we will see. So, first of all, I thought I would refresh who Helker is in the minds of everybody, players and listeners and whoever. So Helker, Chief Helker, in fact, is the foreman who...
He's a scab.
Yeah, he's a big scab. Well, yeah, he's a boss, really, like even worse than a scab. He is all about trying to keep the Dockers down for whatever reason. This is the dude here. And he actually, I don't have this up correctly. Here we go. Helker is right here. And previously, Helker was the foreman over Roth Dava, who was sort of the union organizer when you all started this whole campaign of villainy. But you discovered that Roth Dava and his assistant, the mysterious Coil, were maybe involved in some sort of nasty, strike-breaking, scabby activity. And so you tracked Coil down, and you tortured Coil to death to identify Roth as a particularly nasty strikebreaker.
Yes, allegedly, as Jeremy pointed out.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, no guarantee there, and you never bothered to follow up on it, so it's a mystery. But as far as you know, he's a scab. And so, yeah, anyway, you have not had any direct interactions with Chief Helker for a little while. You've taken more of like a higher level approach to organizing the Dockers, but definitely a figure who was imposing at the beginning of our story. And Helker has his warehouse that he sort of maintains himself, and that's where a lot of the Dockers that you've come to interact with are working. People like Tuto and Ilsen and those folks. So we know that he's somehow connected to the ring down below now. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? And Derek, I know that you had a plan.
Yeah. So I think we should catfish them. We should send anonymous letters to Helker and Fitz saying that I know what happened to LaRose, and I'm afraid for my safety. So if you meet me at this abandoned warehouse at the darkest hour, and come alone, and I'll tell you what happened. But you got to make sure that I'm safe.
Okay. I'm thinking, I had a thought, like, would it be possible to, address the letter each from the other person? The one that you send to Mr. Fitz is addressed from Helker.
I thought about that, but I don't know how involved they are with each other.
Okay. Sure. And then the goal here, because this is kind of going to define what the score plan is going to look like. So I guess, first of all, do you have anything that you want to do to prepare for this before we do the score and engagement and all that stuff?
I want to prepare the building with traps that I can set off and rig it so that we can trap them in a building.
Okay.
Yeah. Benji would really... I think Benji would really like to have them trapped in the building and then be able to kind of have our leisure to deal with them. If that's possible, Clank.
Can we do an escape room then? That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Do
Absolutely.
Are you all planning on letting these guys get out of here alive?
They might think they are.
I don't know if Benji really thinks of very many people getting away from him alive anymore.
Oh, I mean, Clank's mad at Helker now. Clank's not going to let Helker get out.
I figured the answer was just no.
And I just want to point out there is an abandoned warehouse that you've already festooned with traps.
Ooh. People know about this one, so we could probably use that one and then get a new lair.
Oh, shoot.
Oh man.
That's possible. I mean, you folks have gone up in tier quite a bit since you first got that lair, so you might be due for an upgrade anyway.
I like it. I absolutely like it. It's perfect.
Cool. So the question becomes, maybe you could like gather information to see if there is anyone who would be interested in paying you for getting rid of these folks. We know that you have to pay off Rosalind unless you want to get her upset with you.
So this is a new month or whatever, essentially.
Yeah.
New period of time where we have to pay her.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't like an everything, it wasn't necessarily like a set time or whatever. But once a month does make sense to me. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
maybe this score you don't have to worry about doing anything like that.
Well, I mean, I know the Dockers don't have a ton. Well, they probably wouldn't want Helker gone.
Mm-hmm. Tell you what, guys, I'm going to let you chat about this really quick. I forgot about something. I got to be right back in just a second.
Sure.
Okay, so just chat amongst yourselves and then catch me up when I get back.
Coffee talk. So
I don't know if we really want to put it out there that we're doing this. I think we want to keep this secret.
that's true. That's a good point.
I feel like that's probably the best route.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes good sense. Keep a tight lid on it.
I mean, that's just our methodology thus far.
Yeah. And I think like Benji probably doesn't care whether Helker lives or dies, but I think he probably is better with Fitz dying.
I think they should both die.
Yeah, when Melissa said Helker was involved with the Ring Down Below, I mean, he's the ultimate scab right now. And
Right.
I think Clink's fine with Helker disappearing.
That makes really good sense.
If we are sacrificing our lair, we need to get the most quote unquote bang for our buck.
Two murders for one. Yeah, I'm good with it. Again, Benji is he's a little unhinged. He doesn't mind killing people.
Yeah, you're unhinged. We're both unstable. This will be good.
I think it'll be fine.
What's the worst that can happen?
We do need to figure out how we can question them because after they are dead, we are effectively out of leads.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we'll let you live if you tell us about the ring down below, and then just kill them anyway.
Yeah, that might work.
I'm open to suggestions.
I was thinking that Isel might have to be the bait.
Yeah.
Can we trick them to make them think that their demon associate is talking to them?
That's certainly out of my playbook. But I do have the ability where I can detect if people are lying, no matter what.
Oh, that's good.
So my effectiveness would be...
Yeah. I was thinking Clink could try to recreate the electric bolt thing out of the air and the pyrotechnics of it all.
Maybe. How do we get them to reveal? So what we want is for them to reveal the other members of this ring, right?
I mean, in theory, we could do that in tandem. I could be like, hey, tell me this. And they're like, no, we're not going to tell you this. And I could be like, okay, lightning bolt happens. How about you tell me now?
Ooh, how about a rival demon?
Yeah.
I heard rival demon.
So we're gonna make a deal.
Okay.
Well,
No,
we're
no,
gonna make
we're
them.
not.
We're gonna make them think that there's another demon that's angry at the one they're working with, and so they better tell it what the other one's up to.
So they better tell the angry demon what their demon is up to?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you're still planning to lure them to your current lair?
Yeah. We don't have to do that. We're actually just brainstorming still.
Okay, gotcha.
We're trying to figure out a way to get them to talk, tell us
And
at least who the other members of the group are.
yeah, and to talk in a way that is actually truthful.
hmm Yeah, because torture may not be reliable.
Well, I had brought up to them, but I did take the ability, like looking into the mirror, which I know when someone is lying to me always.
hmm
So
That's a boon for sure.
somehow, with this whirlwind of brainstorming, we're luring them somewhere. We're gonna interrogate them through fear and other means, and then probably kill them.
Not so much probably.
We're gonna kill them.
We're going to attempt it at least.
So I'm thinking about this. You want to get them to talk, right? That's one of your goals.
I would say so.
Yeah. And one idea that you put forward is to catfish them by writing letters from each other to make them think that they need to meet up and like figure out what's going on with this other demon or something, right? Or just figure out what's going on with their conspiracy.
Well, we can make them think that the other knows what happened to LaRose.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was thinking, so one of the options for a score is deception, and the score that you could go on, instead of like leading them through this murder house that you've set up, or instead of like trying to attack them in the murder house, you could do a deception, and it's the days leading up to that event where you make them think like by the time they meet up at this warehouse, they are convinced, oh yeah, I absolutely did send that letter to you, and we really need to talk, you know? So like you're catfishing them, sending them a letter on false pretenses, but by the time they meet up, they'll be like, no, wait, we do have things to say to each other though. And then you can just listen in on whatever they have to say. So that would be kind of like a reward from whatever score you do.
I'm okay with that. I don't know exactly how you make them think that they sent a letter they didn't send.
Well, yeah, maybe that's not the easiest part. Maybe you can just make them want to send a letter to contact each other. Like you make them think they're being haunted by a ghost, or maybe you do an occult score and you actually do get them to be haunted by some kind of demon. You meet up with Melissa again and make something happen, you know?
Or even just writing a letter as a third party, telling them, you know,
Yeah.
I know what you've been up to, and I know, you know, I'm going to expose the whole thing. I also know what happened to LaRose, or, you know, any combination of those things.
Oh, okay. Say you
just
gotta pay me off.
Yeah, and then just not be there. And when the two of them show up, naturally, they'll probably start discussing the situation, and we might end up getting some juicy tidbits. Names, you know, potentially.
Makes sense to me.
And then the building burns around them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then kill them.
Yeah, and then accidents happen.
Cool. So it sounds like then we've got the basics of our score together, so we can launch into engagement and that sort of thing. Cool. So first things first, choose the plan and provide a detail. Do you want to go with deception for this one, or do you want to be a little more direct in the score? What are you feeling?
Deception is good with Benji. I don't know about the other two.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. All right. So then what is the method of deception that we're going to do?
Writing a letter.
Pen pals, Dustfall style.
Deception, writing letters to convince Helker and Mr. Fitz that they need to meet up.
I suggest Clank not write the letter.
Clank would absolutely write a letter by cutting out letters from like the newspaper and
Yeah, right. Okay, so we've got the deception, we've got the method. We need to choose our load for this operation.
Clank's going in heavy.
I think I will also go in heavy if I'm not going to be directly involved.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, even if I am, I don't care what they think of me.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I guess if the plan is to just like go in and wipe them out, then I'll go heavy also.
Sounds good. All right. so
We
let's
are
do-
rogues going to war.
That's right. Let's do this engagement roll then. So you start off with 1 die for sheer luck. Is this operation particularly bold or daring? You're trying to take out 2 major players at once. That is bold or daring. So you can take an additional die for that. Let's see here. Is this operation overly complex or contingent on many factors? So the plan is to write a letter as if from a third party, convincing Mr. Fitz and Helker that they need to go to your lair to discuss stuff that's going on. I mean,
Sounds about right.
yeah, it seems.
Well, when you put it like that, I mean,
Sounds terrifically easy.
Right. So I'm going to say that does obtain. So you're going to take a die away for that. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest? Yeah, I'd say they're vulnerable, right?
They're trying to be part of the secret society, and some mysterious person has said they found out their secrets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
would have to agree.
However, is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? They certainly do have special preparations. They are a conspiracy, like a high-level, extensive conspiracy, and they certainly have safeguards about like when it's okay to read a message and do what it says. So take that die away. Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight for this operation?
Two-Tone knows where Helker sleeps. I don't know.
Potentially, yeah. And remind me, so Clank, your friend is Stasia?
Yeah, that's my ally.
Okay. And Izel, your friend is Darmo. And Benji, your friend is Salia, right?
Oh yeah, I have Jenna as a nemesis.
As a nemesis, yeah.
Tied to Fitz, but I don't think there's any string to pull
I
there.
was almost thinking we could somehow call Jonathan into this, but I don't know if that directly applies to this.
I mean, he is the Dockers Union liaison at this point, so he's interacting with Helker on a regular basis.
So we could get him to butter Helker up, maybe, kind of ply him in the direction that we want him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Certainly possible. So yeah, I'll let you add a die for that. And then, are there any enemies or rivals interfering in the operation? There certainly will be. So take that die away. Are there any other factors you want to consider? Tier, location, etc.
We know the location.
Yeah, it is our hideout.
Right. You know the location really well. However, both of these figures are higher tier than you. And I think that's going to cancel that out as well. So right now you're sitting at 1 die, I'm pretty sure. Is that right?
Yeah.
How about a die because we're just really cool?
We should get a second die to the engagement roll for my weaving the web.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. Good to remember that. So you've got 2 dice, and now we are going to roll, unless there are any other factors, to see how this turns out and how we get started. A 5. Very nice. Okay, so you start in a risky position when the action starts. Not bad. Not great. All right, so let's set the scene here. You know that Chief Helker has an office in the docks, and you know that Mr. Fitz has a manor house in Brightstone. It is your task to get them to leave those places and to go to Silkshore, to this abandoned warehouse. So, what's your first step? Does anybody have any particular idea about how to get this started, like the very first thing?
I would say craft the letters.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That makes
Like
sense.
writing the letter is our obvious first step, and then distribution would probably be our.
Actually, before we craft the letters, I think we should establish rumors about the persona that the letters is going to be from.
Ah, yeah, okay. And you've got the crew or the gang that follows you around too, the propagandists. Rooks, they could help you out. They're loyal and tenacious. They're principled and unreliable. So,
We don't know where Roth is anymore. Roth Dava.
correct. He's disappeared, and you never bothered to investigate that to see where he might be.
Can we say this mysterious figure might be Roth Dava?
Oh,
So let's create like a false alias and spread rumor that this alias might actually be Dothrava.
Or Roth Dava?
Rothdava, yeah. That's his alias.
okay. Cool.
They'll never figure it out.
Yeah.
Droth Rava.
Well, maybe it's the case that like so maybe instead of the first step being spreading rumors about this, you are uncovering information about an alias that Roth Dava used once upon a time.
I like that. Definitely.
Cool. Okay, so who wants to try and uncover this? Izel's sneaky, Benji is mastermind, Clank, you're good at blowing stuff up.
Yeah, this would have been Jonathan's arena for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Go talk to Jonathan.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Jonathan's going to be helping out.
True. Okay, so maybe I can consort to use Jonathan to figure this out.
Jonathan would have access to more records and whatnot of what happened in the docks since his incorporation to the whole process, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe instead of me actually finding out the information through some way of my own sleuthing, I can just use Jonathan's knowledge and try to convince him to give me that information.
Yeah, sure. Let's give that a try then. So you meet up with Jonathan Black, and we're in a risky position because, you know, you're asking Jonathan to kind of stick his neck out here. You're implicating him in work that he pretty happily set aside. But Jonathan doesn't have a great relationship with Benji either. And so, you know, the door opens. And actually, Baron, do you want to play Jonathan in this moment?
I really do.
Yeah, okay. All right. So the door opens into Jonathan Black's office, and who should roll in but Benjamin Overstreet himself?
Benji, did you bring Clank with you?
I think he might have actually.
Okay.
Show of force.
Well, look who the Cyclats dragged in.
Jonathan! Clank comes up and gives Jonathan a big hug.
Ah, you big lug. What the hell are you two doing in my office?
Benji, meanwhile, has like gone over to like the small like side table and is like pouring himself a drink, like from the the decanter or whatever, just kind of helping himself.
Well, is this place secure?
Clank, you son of a bitch, you still eating those sandwiches? Oh, well, of course. About as secure as you can get here on the dock.
We talk to Benji. I'll go make sure we're secure.
No, no. Benji?
Jonathan?
Must be a cold day in the nether, or whatever we call it these days.
Look, I
You need something, don't you? Well, what else would you be here for?
it's true. That's fair.
Eh.
Look, you know, Helga, you know the way that things here run. You know a lot about Dava.
Growth Dava. Jesus. Haven't heard about that bloke. Months.
Well, you think you might be able to dig up an alias that he might have used at one point in time when he was up to his nefarious deeds?
I think Jonathan would like sit on his desk very comfortably. Well, Benji, what would you do for me?
I can prevent Clank from placing as many booby traps as he would otherwise do, perhaps.
Clink comes back in at that point and says, "We're good now."
You lie. Nothing can stop the wind from blowing.
What do you want in exchange for such a task? A trivial drop of information, really.
You're not wrong. I do have quite a bit of pull these days, and you are a friend. My real concern is for the girl. She seems to have taken a liking to you two, and I can't figure out the fuck's why.
She's good at what she does.
That's what frightens me.
Well, we don't force her to be involved in anything that she doesn't want to be.
I fully understand that. That's not really what I'm asking.
I fully believe in consent.
Okay, first of all, you keep it the hell away from Clank. I feel like that's not even really a part of this deal. You really need to make sure of this. Benji.
I mean, if we're talking exchanges, I think I could manage that.
All right, well, I guess it ties into the bigger swing of things.
More than you.
Okay. Perhaps this is what I set aside. But you need to look out for her, mate.
I'll do what I can.
I'll do what I can, and I will look out for her are two different statements.
Look, she's a smart girl. She can look out for herself, but I will do what I can. I don't...
Look at you, mate. You look like shit. You ain't living for nothing. You ain't living for yourself. I need your word. I can only do so much in the position I am. You, with your reckless abandon, blowing up parts of the fucking docks.
Allegedly.
I digress. Whatever bullshit you two are getting into, I don't really give a fuck what happens to either of you, but she comes out on top, no matter what.
Sure, Jonathan. I swear it.
A smirk crosses his face because he knows you're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. I suppose I'll see what I can do.
All right. So I think it's time for that consort roll.
Well, okay. I have a parting word after that.
So we're talking risky position. I think this is a great effect because you're standard effect. I was gonna say great because it's a close contact to yours, but it's Benji and Jonathan, so maybe
Yeah,
not.
I'm going to trade position for effect.
Okay, so you're gonna go to desperate and go up to great.
Yeah.
All right, and so maybe this contentious conversation you've been having is why it goes down to desperate.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was aiming for.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, cool. So let's see how that turns out.
Okay. No bonus dice. I don't think there's anything that I can add to this as a spider.
I
Let me
mean,
check
you can
the.
push yourself and that sort of thing, but
Okay.
Yes.
a 6. Very nice. Okay, so you do it. Yeah, Jonathan, you are able to track down an alias for Roth Dava.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say when Clank and Benji are leaving, Jonathan, like Clank says to Benji, none of this is going to matter as Azrax kills us all, and they just leave.
All right, so first of all, you got a success. On a standard, that would be 2 segments of the clock filled, but this is actually a really solid alias that you've got, so it's going to be 3 because you had the great effect. And so you are already almost halfway to filling up this 8 clock to get Helker and Fitz fooled into showing up at the lair. Next step, I want to know what this alias is. Anybody have any ideas? I'm going to give the option to Baron first since he's playing black.
I was pretty sure we were sold on Drothrava.
Drothrava, okay.
No, he wasn't from here,
He's
right?
a
He was
Ruvian,
from. Can I get a quick synopsis of what they're about?
Eruvia is like, night blasted deserts and volcanoes and stuff. The Red Sashes are a group of like scimitar wielding duelists who come from Eruvia.
So I think they probably have some sort of like horrifying snake being in the desert.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the abyss viper.
Oh. Yeah.
And so like AV was kind of a coin. The abyss viper was. He was the abyss viper of unions or whatever. This kind of moniker was his go-to.
I like it. Okay, so the Abyss Viper is this Eruvian strikebreaker alias that Roth Dava used to use, and we've managed to track this down. And now we're at the point where is it time to write the letters? Is it time to write the letters and send them out, or are you? Oh no, you're doing the rumors.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a prowl.
Okay.
And we're going to prowl graffiti like propaganda as if we are the Abyss Viper getting ready to break this union.
Okay. All right. So you're spreading a little bit of uncertainty then with the like maybe among the dockers. That's sort of a risky action. I like that. So let me just make sure here. You can bring your propagandists into this thing. I just want to make sure I remember what that means for them. Roll their quality to see how it goes. So you can either just send the propagandists out to do it for you, in which case we'll roll tier 2, 2 dice for their quality, or somebody can lead the propagandist on a group action. You would roll command, and the quality of the outcome is dependent on your roll.
I do not want to roll command.
Okay, so you just want to like tell the propagandist to get out there and do it then?
I want to prowl with them.
Unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Then I want to go on my own.
Okay, so you're gonna spread this propaganda on your own then.
Well, they're gonna talk. I would think that they're. I'm going to go, like at night and do graffiti, like making it seem like the Abyss Viper is in town,
Sure.
and then they're gonna go around and like say, talk about who that is, and oh, we need to be prepared for him, so that people in the area are talking about him.
Sure. So, tell you what. This is the perfect job for these propagandists, and the rules is written like you. I agree. There's not really much of a reason to use them, but I would like to use them. So how about we say instead that you don't have to roll command. You can roll prowl. And that's just how you're leading this group action. Because like group action rules is written, you can roll any action you want. So it's odd that they don't let you do it in this one specific circumstance.
Okay.
And then in this case, the propagandists will give you like increased effect or something. So we're talking a risky action. Actually, no, we're going to stay desperate because getting that information took some elbow rubbing. And so word is out that this sort of thing is happening. It hasn't been tracked back to you yet, but it might. And in fact, I'm going to do a second clock to make that a possibility.
So the implication with that would be that Jonathan sold us out.
Well, I mean, maybe. I suppose it depends. I was thinking that it just meant, you know, Jonathan had to ask some people, and those people might not have been the most trustworthy folks. But, you know, if it's in keeping with Jonathan to snitch, then that's fine with me.
Oh, hold on. That's like first tenet of being a hound.
Right. Okay, so you would not have then.
No, I actually, he's an NPC. That's up to you.
Okay. No. I think it's you're the one who played him and created him. I'm comfortable letting you make the decision.
I don't know if that's just me being in the idea of hoodlum mischief. I don't think that's what he would do.
Sure.
But like I said, if he rubbed the wrong nose.
Sure.
So what effect am I looking for, Eli?
Sorry, we're looking at a desperate position and, well, no, a risky position because I think, yeah, Jonathan is more of a professional than that. Risky position, normally a standard effect. Actually, it probably would have been limited if you were trying to do it all by yourself, but leading this group action, it'll take you up to standard, so a risky standard.
Okay, and I get a bonus die from them?
You get increased effect. So it would have been limited, but now it's up to standard.
Well, let's trade position for effect.
Okay, so you're going to go down to desperate and up to great.
Yes.
How is it that you're making this even harder for yourself?
We're going to graffiti the Blue Coats headquarters.
Oh boy, okay. Bold as brass. All right, yeah. So let's see this roll then. Are you pushing
desperate
yourself or
great
anything like that?
No,
Okay.
just desperate great now, right?
Yeah, but you do get that bonus die for being a daredevil or whatever.
I do.
Mm-hmm. 6. All right, so you do it. You manage to get a great effect on this, which means another 3 segments of the clock. Boom, boom, boom. So you've only got 2 more segments before Helker and Fitz are fooled at this point. You have found out the Abyss Viper, and then you've been graffitiing this stuff all over the docks area. And what is the message that you repeat around this place, or are there multiple messages?
One of them is, I know the conspiracy.
Okay.
And the other is something about LaRose. Come on, Midgie, help me here.
The one that had popped into my head was expose the ring, but something to do with LaRose. I don't know.
How about we just put his name around? Like, I know the conspiracy, and then LaRose under it. Signed AV.
LaRose isn't dead. Maybe.
Okay, yeah, I'm loving all these messages. All right, so these spread throughout the docs. And on the one hand, the people who ought to receive the message receive it loud and clear, and they're spooked. On the other hand, it's subtle enough and it's focused enough on the situation of the ring down below that the dockers don't actually really pick up on this AV moniker. And they don't make the connection that this is Roth Dava's initials from his old alias back as a strikebreaker in Aruvia. And so the dockers aren't getting panicked or anything like that as a result of this. Well done. And so it's time now to set up the bait. You know, you got to take them to the lair. How are you going to get them to the lair?
I think I would be the kind of courier of the messages.
Okay.
I'm a third party. They shouldn't really have any idea who I am per se.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, so are you going to disguise yourself or anything like that? Just
Absolutely.
in case. I guess like a costume at least, right?
I don't know if I want to go the like courtesan route or the sneak in, plant a letter where they would find it, get the hell out.
I like the sneaky one. They don't know how.
Yeah, so do I. So do I, because I'm way better at that.
Yeah, sure. All right, well, let's see
Absolutely.
how that works. So you're probably going to need to check a few boxes to be able to infiltrate these places, right?
You got that right. So I have fine lockpicks.
Okay.
I have a fine shadow cloak,
Okay.
light climbing gear,
Jesus. Okay.
which, mind you, I think how many more do we have on as usual?
For your load, you mean?
Yeah,
You have
wait,
an
two
additional
more.
2 load.
Okay, so I'm carrying up to 8. So we are
Amazing.
going. Yeah, we are going to war.
Yeah.
So between those 3, would it be applicable to also use the burglary gear, or?
Burglary gear is lockpicks and that sort of thing. So I think your
That's
fine
kind of-
lockpicks are going to be.
And then an item in my inventory is also documents. Would that apply?
Yeah, that's what you should check for the letters themselves.
Perfect. So, yeah, between those, I'm checking 4 boxes.
Yeah. Although one of them, your lockpicks, is actually weightless, so you do have to check that, but it doesn't count against your load.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I'm taking the stealthy approach on both accounts. I know Mr. Fisk is probably going to be a little bit more challenging. So is this 2 separate, or is it just 1 hard?
Well, that's the thing. I think this might be its own little clock. Let's call this a 4 clock.
Okay.
And this will be to deliver both of the messages, right? So I'm not going to put a label on this one. It's time consuming, but we know what it is. We know it's delivering the messages, and I think so. You've got both a fine shadow cloak and fine lockpicks. That increases your effect with each one. So you would be at limited, because trying to get both of these letters planted with a single action is ambitious. But because of your shadow cloak, that increases it to standard. Because of your fine lockpicks, it increases it to great. And so this is certainly like a desperate position for you, trying to get all this done in one fell swoop. But if you succeed, you will go most of the way to making it happen. And if you get a critical success, then you will completely make it happen.
All right. Well, let's see if I don't die here.
All right. Do you want to... Oh,
No,
it's too bad.
yeah.
So with a great effect, you have 2 successes on this thing. So you're halfway to getting this done. Which letter do you plant first, and how does it come off without a hitch? Actually, no. Sorry.
I don't think I don't think I get to choose.
Yeah. Normally, I would say that the Eeks Ruse is discovered clock would get some ticks on this, but you are so stealthy right now that I don't think the problem is your discovery. I think while you are doing this, which letter do you plant first? We'll talk about how it goes later, but just which one is it for now?
I have to say I would go for. I mean, to be honest, probably the easier of the two first, Chief Helker.
Okay, cool. So headed to Chief Helker's place, you find that he's increased his security in light of all this graffiti going around, right? So it's harder for you to get in and get out, and that slows you down. You can also see that the security is planning on following him around pretty much everywhere. So there's a complication introduced, which is to say it's going to be harder for you to take care of things at the lair when you need to. You're going to be like definitely outnumbered when that happens. So we've got that. Let's do the second roll here to try and plant it in Mr. Fitz's manor as well.
Same conditions, desperate, great.
Yeah, desperate great.
Alrighty. Come on.
Will Umbra prowl through the shadows? She will, but not without another complication.
My instability is getting the best of me, it appears.
So you do manage to plant the letters. The complication is that filling that clock, for whatever reason, those letters don't quite prompt Helker and Fitz to show up at the lair. You wait a few days. It's getting to the point where, like, you know, it's the next day when they're supposed to show up at the lair, and you've been keeping an eye on them with your informants and stuff, and they don't seem like they're making plans to go. So there has to be one last thing that you do to push them over that edge. What's it going to be?
I would. Sorry. Go ahead.
I want to wreck something. I want to make ghosts appear in their houses.
Oh, geez. Okay, so you're gonna. So you want to do a wreck roll. You don't want to do a prowl roll.
Nope. I want to do a wreck.
So let's see. You want to do both of their houses? I don't know that both of their houses is possible. It would be another small clock if we were to do that.
I'll do Helker, and Benji can do something to Fitz.
Okay, sounds good. So you're going.
So I'm gonna leave like a threat, and my plan is to like make ghosts appear by wrecking something to entice ghosts to there, with a little warning that says, "If you don't believe me, things will just get worse."
Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. So thinking about position and effect on this, you want to try and like get into his house and set up this machine that's going to draw ghosts nearby, right?
I don't know if I need in his house. I can just get on his roof.
Oh, on his roof. Okay. So I see two components to this. There's like getting to the roof, and then there's setting off the device, right? And because there are two components, I'm going to say that this is a risky position for you, but it'll be a limited effect.
Well, I'll use my magnetic line thrower.
Okay.
And my fine wrecking tools.
Okay, cool. So that'll take you to standard and then to great. So we're at a risky position and a great effect.
Do I want to be desperate?
Consequences are going to be worse if you fail.
We'll stick with risky and great, right?
Yeah.
It's a critical.
critical. Wow. Okay, cool. So, yeah, you set off these ghosts on the roof, and you do this with increased effect. So it's exceptional, which means that you don't actually have to you don't have to spook Fitz after all. This one thing is going to convince both of them. It's going to fill the rest of this clock, and Helker and Fitz are fooled. So, one of you, probably Izel, intercepts a letter. I guess Baron's gone, but maybe actually it's Benji. One of your servants back at the Overstreet Manor has been sort of roped into your service or something, and delivers a letter to you that was intercepted and copied from between Helker and Fitz. And Helker says, the spirits are getting unruly. This can't wait anymore. We've got to talk to AV. But, so, the next day comes, the next night comes, I should say, and you all, where are you all located when you're outside the lair here? What, are you inside the lair watching? Are you outside? What's going on?
So as they appear towards the lair, on a nearby rooftop, hidden but not so hidden that they don't see him, Benji is dressed as Coil.
Oh boy! I think you got to mark your subterfuge supplies there, or your fine disguise, or whatever it is.
Yeah, fine cover identity.
That's the one. All right.
Done.
Jeez. Oh, the plot thickens. So you're up on this rooftop. The rain is still lashing the city. There's
like fucking Darkman, just like standing there, like silhouetted against the back, with like the bandages and shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right. Izel and Clank, what are you two up to? Let's go with Izel first, because I think I might know what Clank's up to.
I think. Okay, I guess. Are we still trying to interrogate them from information?
Well, potentially. You want to get information out of them. You just think that maybe you've set things up that they're going to talk in a place where you can listen.
Are we still blowing this place up?
Well,
Allegedly.
I am hidden inside.
Okay. Sounds good. So we know that there's this common room where there used to be the giant stool that was broken and then replaced with a ratty table. We know that there's a futon. I was listening to some earlier episodes, and Jonathan Black decided that he was going to sleep on a futon. We know that there's like an engine room. We know that there is the underground docks. We know that there's probably, like a separate room or something for Clank's workshop.
Which I assume like they've cleaned out their personal effects.
Oh, absolutely. You've all had a chance to vacate these premises.
The eek is safe.
I almost imagine there's like some sort of loft.
Mm-hmm.
Like an attic space that's like you can't. A normal person wouldn't be able to just walk around up here, but I'm smooth and able to kind of hold up in here.
Sure. I've been thinking about the warehouse. I've been thinking about the lair as more of a cramped space, but if it's an abandoned warehouse, then it stands to reason that it's actually pretty big on the inside. So maybe you're like in the rafter beams or something up above.
Yeah, somewhere where there's like something blocking the immediate view of me from them.
For sure.
Ideally, anyway.
For sure. Cool. All right. So then, Clank, last but not least, where are you located as all of this is going down?
Clank is in like a control room area, like a machinery control room.
Yep. I didn't even think I needed to ask. So, let me see here. There are some folks who are going to walk into the warehouse at this point. And I'm assuming you left a path that wasn't booby-trapped for them to get into this trap, right?
At least ones that won't go off right now.
Sounds good.
Perhaps walking out is a lot easier than walking in.
The other way around, I think.
Yeah, the other way around, Baron.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
All right, so you see them come inside, and first it is dang it, I'm trying to find the information about how big a gang is for a particular tier. I want to say tier 3 is something like 12 to 20 people. So how about, let's roll 3d6. Just call it a fortune roll, somebody. And this will determine... No, roll 4d6, sorry. So it could be up to 20. 6, 6, 5, 12,
Well,
17.
I rolled 3, and then you said roll 4.
Well, 4 is fine. 3 is fine in this case because it's between 10 and 20. So, first, Helker comes in. And Helker's kind of warily looking around, shuffling and that sort of thing. He's got his hands in these high pockets on his coat, mumbling to himself. And you see people file in after him. First 2, and then 4, and then 10, and then 15. We've got 17 goons that follow in after Helker. He is spooked, and these are tough-looking guys. All of them are as physically imposing as Clank, but they look a lot meaner than Clank. But they file in. They come to the, they set up. They find a place in the warehouse that's kind of strategically to their advantage, right? There's sort of a choke point. So if anybody wants to get in there, their backs are to the wall and they can see everything that's coming in toward them. Who's to say what kind of traps might be set up there, though? And then eventually Mr. Fitz comes in, except it's the other way around. Some people come in front of Fitz, and I want to roll 4d6 again.
I rolled. It just takes a minute, apparently. There we go.
Okay. So that's 12. All right. A smaller contingent, but Fitz, a few guys file in, and then they kind of look around and make sure that everything looks good. And once they confirm that, yes, it does, they bring Fitz in. And then a few more guys file in after Fitz comes in. So we're talking about 12 additional dudes. That's 29 people total, in addition to Fitz and Chief Helker, that are inside this warehouse. And it's going to take some doing to take all of them out if you don't want this story to spread. So let me type up this new... The lair is destroyed. So that is one of our new goals. That's a clock you've got to fill. And if it fills first, you get away scot-free. If the Eek's ruse is discovered, clock fills first, then you might still destroy the lair and kill a bunch of people, but the story's going to get out. And that's going to have serious consequences down the line. So, Chief Helker is sitting down as Mr. Fitz approaches. "Oh, you rich bastard, what are you doing here, eh? I thought I told you that we had to keep this under control, all right?" Mr. Fitz is like, "Oh, well, we have our dealings in the business world, and who knows how it might turn out. Ups and downs, but we weather the storm." An ominous clash of lightning. Benji, as Coil, you are watching people file into the warehouse. More people than you expected. How many people were you expecting to show up?
Maybe a dozen total.
Mm-hmm. All right, so more than twice that number is in there. You realize that things are tough. What's your reaction?
A sane person would be concerned. Benji likes the fact that this is far more stupid and dangerous than it needs to be. So he is actually grinning underneath these bandages.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Do you stay on the rooftop? Or are you infiltrating the place? What's your plan?
No, definitely getting closer so that I can listen in.
All right. Cool. So maybe you know of like a window that you set up open in advance to sneak in there.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Cool. Izel, you're watching this from up above. Clank, are you watching this, or do you have like just an audio access to the thing? Maybe like a pipe, like a speaking pipe. You know what I'm talking about?
We don't have radio. Don't we have radio technology?
Yeah, I guess so. I imagine it's really big and bulky. I don't know about like portable radio.
This is my lair. I set this up. This
That's
is my
fair.
control room.
That's fair. So you can have like a microphone or something set up and speakers in your control room or headphones or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So Helker is like, business ups and downs. I'll tell you about ups and downs. I talk about losing dockers on the docks, lose their legs, or go on strike and want increased wages. Do you have any idea how much my cut of this is getting just trod through the mud? Huh? Mr. Fitz is like, there are things that are more important than your pocketbook, Chief Helker. And then Mr. Fitz moves closer and he starts to whisper. And none of you can quite make out what's being said, but any of you are welcome to try and prowl closer or find some other way to hear better what's going on over there.
Would love to prowl closer.
All right. Is
I imagine.
Are you
I imagine. Well, hold on. I imagine that this warehouse was used to move heavy things around, and so there's like a network in the ceiling of like pulleys and whatnot, where there's like some heavy beams that can be pulled back and forth.
Maybe even like a gantry crane or something.
Right, and so I think like there'd be a spot above where they're at that someone could get to. That could be like lowered even.
Okay.
I mean, it might make a noise, but
Yeah. I mean, between Izel and Coil, which one of you prefer to do that?
That seems positioning wise a little bit more up my alley.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're already up in the rafters. That makes sense.
That's my thought.
Cool. All right. So, Benji, we'll resolve your prowl here in just a second, or whatever you're using to get closer. And for now, let's do Izel. So you're up in the rafters. This is a risky position for you. There's a lot of ways it could go wrong, but nobody knows that you're up there. I think that, you know, especially in light of all the the fine shadow cloak that you're still carrying around, I think we're dealing with a great effect.
Okay.
Hey,
Critical.
critical. Oh my god. Okay.
Whatever they say, I can discern lies.
So you managed to get down there, and you are like a shadow on the night, you know, and like the thunder and the lightning is masking any sort of noise that you could be making as you're making your approach, lowering the crane down or whatever it is you want to do. What is it that you do though?
I don't lower the crane down. I Spider-Man it upside down.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I don't know which hands would go, but
Very cool. So you're just like hanging from the end of this then, suspended above the crowd. All right. Well, You did it with increased effect, so you're going to hear a whole lot of good stuff right now. But let's go ahead and do Coil's prowl roll as well. This is how are you approaching?
So through this open window, Benji has kind of clambered through, and he is actually not going to get any closer than he has gotten now. He is going to use one of Clank's like funnels. There's like a brass funnel somewhere. He's going to try to use this as kind of like a listening device.
Okay. Yeah. So what action are you using for this?
Oh, well, I was going to use Prowl to get to the point where I am, like through the window and whatnot.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. So the question is about whether or not you can be detected, not about whether or not you're going to be able to hear this. So Prowl makes sense.
So in that case, I think I probably would have had to prowl closer in order to make this effective then.
Sure.
So maybe I'm like just outside the room, in an adjoining room with an open door or something.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. So you are going to try and prowl down to this position. I think that this is desperate for you because whereas Izel was like up in the rafters and nobody was looking up, there are goons all over the place down there, and you've got to kind of like, it's like that video game trope where you have to time their routes and like sneak through the gaps and that sort of thing. So desperate position for sure. And I think there are so many people down there that it would be limited. Because it's your lair, I'm going to say that you can go to a standard effect because you know this place really, really well.
So desperate and standard.
Yeah. And do you have any like items or anything you could invoke to do a better job here?
Potentially. I have Cloak and Dagger. When you use a disguise or covert misdirection, I don't know if this would qualify for covert misdirection or not.
Mm-hmm.
I can get an extra die to confuse or deflect suspicion. No, that doesn't sound like a detection type thing.
Well, covert misdirection, you could like be in a position where you can't get the guards to go away, and so you throw a rock somewhere and like get them to move over in that direction.
Okay. Yeah. So I would have rigged something up so that like with a pull of a string, it causes it to fall into the water where the eek usually is kind of set up, so it makes a splash.
Clank, roll a flashback or something to set that trap up for Benji.
Derek wasn't paying attention. What am I doing?
I need a splash for a distraction.
A splash? I can be a splash. So it's a flashback. So am I
we don't
taking?
have to do a flashback. You can just do an assist. You could pay one stress and give Benji an additional die for that.
Okay. I shall wreck quietly because I am a saboteur.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. So Benji, you've got an additional die for this then. We're at desperate and standard.
Am I rolling desperate too?
No, you're just assisting. So you take one stress and you don't have to do any roll.
Oh, okay.
And then let me. Okay. Would burglary gear help as well?
Burglary gear is stuff like set of lockpicks, a small pry bar, valves of oil to silent squeaky hinges.
Okay. All right. So, one bonus die. A six.
So you succeed on a standard effect. So you don't have as much information as Izel. But so what you hear is you come to the party a little late because you were delayed by this. The splash happens in the water and some guards go to take a look at it. And so as you're coming in, you hear, "What was that? Did you hear? Oh, we've got guards. Come on, they'll go check it out. It's not a problem." Whatever. Back to business. Izel, before that happened, you're listening in. you're hearing the arrangement with the others was clear. We are working together to take control of a certain commodity in the city. You know this, but apparently so does the Abyss Viper. Helker's like, I swear to you, Roth Dava's dead. I'm positive he is. I haven't seen him in months. How could he be around anymore? No, the question is not whether or not he's around. He is around. The question is, what does he know about our operation, and how can we bring him to a stop? And so you don't know that bit, Benji. But when you get to the room... what was that? It doesn't matter. Get back to the task at hand. All right, anyway, so... what we need to do is make contact with the entity. And Helker's immediately like, no, we can't do that. I don't want to do that again. Are you kidding me? Ghosts give me the spooks. And Fitz is like, listen to me, you simpleton. And at this, a few of the guards kind of like ruffle their feathers. But then Fitz's guards kind of stand up. They brandish pistols, actually, and they're like, sit down. So Fitz says, the only way that this Dava you speak of could know about both LaRose and us is if he's managed to, I don't know, interrogate LaRose from beyond the grave or something. It's impossible to tell. What we know is that forces are getting beyond our control, and we need to make contact with the entity so that we can arrange some sort of protection. And then the two of them continue to talk for a little while, sort of making plans about, well, the ritual, the ritual will be most important. But I want to know, as this is going on, what are you folks doing to kind of like, you've got some information now. Is there more information that you want to find out? Are you ready to spring the trap?
Clink is springing traps. But he's doing it quietly. So he's wrecking quietly, and he has electrified all the doors.
Okay, sounds good. So you're setting that up. This is maybe like, we could say it's a flashback to rig the trap, and then all you have to do is flip the switch in the moment.
I got a flashback? I mean, we've established Clink has put booby traps all over the lair. Like, you want me to...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not a particularly stressful flashback because it's stuff that you've done in the past already. I just think that, like, narratively, we're switching back to the image of him actually rigging this trap up before we cut back to flipping it and, like, potentially killing anybody,
Okay. Well, then, yeah. Then we're flashing back to the very mundane task of laying wire to all of the doors.
But you know what? Looks like Clank loves it. Okay, so there you are, kind of humdrum, blah, blah, blah.
So are you going to do any stress to me? I just want to make sure.
No, it's going to be a no stress action. We're going to talk about a controlled position and I'm sure, great effect by the time you factor in all of your tools and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to name out tools, or you okay
if you've got a box you can check, then yeah, tinkering tools probably, but
yeah, I have fine tinkering tools.
Okay, that sounds good. So definitely going from standard to great then. Cool. So let's see how this roll turns out.
Critical.
Nice. Okay, cool. So not only is this set up to electrify anybody who gets in there, but it's going to be so powerful that it reduces them to dust. And it's also like you can set it up to flip a switch and it just turns on, and then the next person who touches it is dead. There's no, like, because it's sort of a quiet thing, like you're a saboteur, there's no like crackling electricity on these doors at this point.
Switch flipped.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to say also, well, no, we haven't set that off just yet. Cool. So you got God, everybody has rolled successes at this point. I haven't been able to do any consequences. Um, jinx, jinx, jinx. Okay.
I think we had a consequence. There's 17 goons. No, wait.
You got some dudes to take care of.
Wait, no, there's like 30 goons, right?
Uh-huh.
We have
yeah,
a small army inside our base right now.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. It's actually like you didn't think you would ever see people fill up this warehouse, but it's getting to the point where it's like people are pretty crowded.
I was gonna say it's the most people we've ever seen in this building.
Yeah, no, for sure. Far and away. Probably the most that have been in there in several generations. But yeah, so these doors have been turned on at this point. We see Clank flip the switch, and what is the next step for Izel or Coil in this moment?
I think I need to get out of here.
Same. GTFO.
Okay. Sounds good. So we could do this as a group action if you want to try and like help each other to escape, or if you're comfortable remaining separate, we could just do separate actions.
I'm good with doing it as a group action.
Okay.
And I'm the one that incurs stress if I'm aiding.
If you
Izel?
are leading the group action, then
You gotta lead
you are
it.
the
You
one
got
who takes
you gotta
stress.
lead it, or I'm gonna go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now my stress is 0. So I'm
Okay.
I'm good for that.
So you two can see each other somehow, and you coordinate this escape together. But Coil is the one who is sort of leading the effort. So Coil, what do you do to initiate this? How do you make eye contact or whatever? How do you signal? And then how do you start to move away?
I think as far as making contact, I knew where Izel was going to be. It was kind of established ahead of time that she was going to be kind of, dangling from this crane thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he just waits until, he sees her looking in his direction, and he'll give a signal. It might even be some kind of like a bird call, the kind of birds that we typically kind of get in the rafters and stuff of this warehouse.
A nasty crow or something.
Yeah, exactly. So he kind of like lets out this little repeated call to signal to her. And I think the escape is, there's a small like gondola, like a small boat, like hidden like in the bay, the dock part where we usually keep the eek.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got canvas thrown over it or something, and it's real small. It's basically just big enough for the two of us to kind of get out of here on.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So I would imagine this is probably a prowl action. Okay. So you are prowling away. I think this is a desperate position because you're making noise. Like you're basically drawing people over to investigate you, even if it's like, a symbol for you to GTFO. So desperate position for sure. And I think the effect can be standard. I'm tempted to say limited though, because for you have this disguise, but sneakiness has not really been part of your story so far, and you are the one making noise. So I think this is desperate and limited for you, and that'll drag Izel into it as well. So desperate and limited for Izel, but Izel's shadow cloak would take her up to standard, I guess. So do action rolls for both of you, and Baron, if you fail in your roll, then Benji will accumulate stress.
So I'm at standard.
Desperate and standard, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I am not affected by quality or tier when bypassing security measures.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that would bump you up to great. So Benji failed. He would have failed, but we've got this roll coming up to see if Izel somehow
Yeah.
pulls it out.
Nope.
Just a 4 in a desperate position. So here's the deal. Consequences, serious consequences from that. And so
Resist.
I'm going to
Resist.
fill 3 segments on that clock unless somebody wants to
So-
somebody wants to resist it.
First, as a result of those rolls, do I accumulate stress?
You do not. Only if it
Okay.
was a 1 through 3 would you accumulate
Okay.
stress.
But I will attempt to resist.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
that's
So you make this like
Prowess.
croaky call.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's a prowess resistance, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you don't take any stress. Very nice. So you make this croaky caw. The two of you start to move toward the gondola, and I think there's a really tense moment where you are about to move across this walkway, coil, to the gondola when a bunch of guards move in front of you, and they just freeze. Izel, how do you help Coil in this moment?
So I was kind of positioned above this conversation. I almost imagine that I kind of reverse my action back up into this loft.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get outside. There's probably some sort of like port window on each side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna climb out that, and I see that they've kind of cornered Benji. And there is a disgusting mound of slug crow shit on this rafter, and I kind of kick it off. And it audibly kind of ploops on the ground. Not like within the circle of the conversation, but just outside, in between Benji and I, enough that this like bird call
Mm-hmm.
has kind of perpetuated itself. Oh, that's gross.
Very nice. Okay, so that happens, and there was a consequence. It was that we ticked some stuff. We ticked 3 segments on the clock, but because you resisted it, Benji, I'm going to say that we're going to lower that to 1 segment on the clock instead. However, basically what happens is that you manage to get to the gondola with Izel. However, inside the office, there's a commotion because there's a bunch of strange stuff happening outside. And so one of the goons who's guarding inside the office goes over to the door to open it and like catches fire, falls on the ground, and crumbles into dust right in front of everybody.
And at that point,
Everyone realizes the trap is sprung at this point. Yeah.
brings trap number 2.
Okay, so what's trap number 2?
Eye blind poison starts falling from pipes from the ceiling.
Oh my god. And what does eye blind poison do?
I assume it blinds you.
Yeah,
I have silence potion if you would like to mix the two,
Oh my god.
so that they scream in silence while they're blind.
I don't know. I don't have that. Am I allowed to mix them with something I don't have?
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you, I guess, Izel, you just check your thing, and then we can say that you combined it. So, like, some of the pipes are eye blind poison, and some of them are the silence potion.
Okay, so I can wreck it, or do you want me to do a...
Wreck makes sense to me.
Okay, are we doing what I did before, or am I doing it now?
I think this is doing it now. Unless did you premeditate this trap? Was that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like something you're improvising in the moment. I think in that case, then it would be a flashback.
Okay, so going back to the very mundane point of putting up piping.
Yeah, we have these really like banal shots of Clank just kind of very rotely putting pipes together in the midst of all this chaos that's happening in the present. You're tinkering, you're wrecking for this. You said you're wrecking.
I'm wrecking.
Okay, so I think this flashback, these are potent substances, but they don't have huge consequences. So I think a controlled position again and a standard effect, but with your wrecking tools, it would go up to great. Hey, okay, so this stuff falls out of the ceiling, right? And it's paired, I think. So what's the effect whenever it comes down on top of everybody?
So what is silent potion or whatever?
I think it makes it extends like an aura of silence around you.
Okay, so it drops, and I'm sure that when their compadre was electrocuted and crumbled to dust, that they started to get loud, but then all of a sudden they can't hear anyone else, and then all of a sudden things just start getting really fuzzy, and I don't know the effect of this, but I assume it like makes it harder to see. I don't know if they're totally blind, but it's getting harder to see.
With increased effect, yeah, they're totally blind.
Okay, then they can no longer see or hear.
Yeah, okay. And I'm going to say that there are some people who like were not in the path of this stuff, so not every guard is incapacitated by this, but like a huge chunk of them are. Whereas before we had 30 guards, now we've got like 20 guards. Let's say 15 guards. About half of the guards have been taken out by this. So, you are over there, and so far you haven't actually done anything to destroy the lair. But you can see that the guards that are still inside the office area, they pick up chairs and they throw them at the windows to try and see if those windows are also electrocuted. And I imagine they're not. So whenever the chair goes through, they're like, okay, well, get out this way. And Fitz is like, I swear to you, if one hair on my head is harmed. And then Helker is like, shut it. We've got to get out here before we're all dead. And so
Something else happens.
okay, they go through the windows.
Huh?
They go through the windows. They're climbing through the windows. And what happens as this is happening?
Well, where do the windows lead?
I imagine just out onto the warehouse floor.
Okay. Some large wooden boxes start lowering from the ceiling. And
Okay.
they're making whirring noises.
Whirring noises.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you recall what we did when we blew up the fake stuff from the artifacts?
Barely. I don't
So
think
we
I remember
we
clearly.
replaced the artifacts from the Void Sea that were being taken to the Ministry of Preservation with a electromagnetic bomb or electroplasmic bomb.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
There's now 3 of these dropping from the ceiling.
Oh god. Okay. So, how did you get these? You made them?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about we do this would be like an acquire asset roll in my mind, because this is not like these are an order of magnitude more complex than a shocked door or like potions falling out of pipes. You know, this is like big deal stuff. But if you do this acquire asset roll, then yeah, I mean, that would totally be a thing that could happen. So let me look at the acquire asset rules here. You roll according to the crew's tier, and the result indicates the quality of the asset. And then you can spend coin. So you have to spend 1 coin to get the materials to do this, first of all. And then you can spend coin afterward to bump the result beyond exceptional.
Okay.
So you're spending 1 coin already, and then you're rolling 2 for the crew's tier.
Crude coin.
Sorry? Oh, yeah.
Baron. Okay. So spent a coin.
Mm-hmm. And now you'll make a tier roll for the crew's tier.
No bonus die.
No. So you have a standard set of electroplasmic bombs. These are 3rd tier bombs, or sorry, 2nd tier bombs.
And if I spend 3 coin?
If you spend 2 coin, then you can bump it up to the next higher level. So it'll be a tier 3 set of electroplasmatic bombs.
So if I spend 3 coin, hold on. I was going to spend 4 coin. So I'm using all 4. Okay. So
you've spent 1 coin to acquire the asset, and then you spend 2 coin to bump it up 1 extra effect level.
And then I spent another crew coin, and now I'm going to spend 2 of my stash.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, so you bump it up to tier 4 electroplasmic bombs.
Mhm.
And those are certainly like that kind of tier quality is certainly big enough to justify all 3 of those bombs coming down from the ceiling. So well done. Now what does the rec roll look like to try and kill these people?
So as they climb through the office window onto the floor, they see these boxes being lowered down slowly, and as they reach the ground, they open. Like the weight of it sitting on the ground pushes a mechanism that the sides fall away.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see this spinning thing in the middle when it's just getting brighter and brighter. And we'll see if they go off.
Okay. All right. So this is, I think, considering that all 3 of you are still inside the warehouse, this seems like a desperate position to me. And I think it's got potentially great effect because these actually exceptional effect already because these are such high tier things. So if you succeed on this, we're talking like 4 or 5 or maybe even all 6 segments of the clock ticked.
To make a devil's bargain as well.
Okay, what is your devil's bargain? Or do you
I'm
want
using-
me to suggest one?
I'm using 3 giant bombs, and we're still inside the building. I'm not sure what will happen to us. But
I think so here's the devil's bargain. You can have an additional die or increased effect.
I can't increase the effects any further.
Do what?
I don't think I extreme is the best effect I can do.
Yeah, I think you're right. But you will attract that watcher that was summoned at the beginning of the session.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, let's see how this goes. So what are we at? We're at desperate position, extreme effect. You have an additional die from the devil's bargain.
And an additional die from being a daredevil.
From being a daredevil, right. Okay. Just a single 6. I can't believe it. Okay. So let me think about this. Standard 4 to 5 is 1 success. Great is 2. Extreme is 3. So 4, 5. Yeah, you fill 5 segments of this clock that the lair is destroyed, which honestly I think is kind of your best case scenario because you have time to escape. But what happens when these electroplasmic bombs go off? And I imagine one of the answers to that question is Mr. Fitz and Chief Helker are both killed, but the manner, like the description, I leave up to you.
So Clank was really freaked out by the appearance of that demon, but he was also inspired. And he wanted to create a sustained lightning bolt the best he could. So when these go off, it is like a giant plasmic arc straight up into the air till it hits the ceiling, and then it spreads out around the sides of the ceiling. And I mean, he tried to develop it so that it would stay there as long as it could. He's not a demon, so he can't make it there always. But I mean, there's some good 10 seconds of plasmic energy there, I think.
Yeah. I think so. Here's what I'm picturing. It's like those science lightning ball things, you know what I mean? The lightning arcs out not just a single thing up to the ceiling, but like a dozen of them, and they play over the walls, and as they're moving they hit people. Like they get too close to a person, and then the middle of the arc jumps to that person, and the person just and falls to the ground dead, right? But also as the arcs are like moving over wooden portions of the warehouse, those portions are setting on fire. And so the whole warehouse is caught flames at this point. And there's lightning arcing all around. And in the midst of this, you hear the roar of thunder outside, and a bolt shoots right through the roof into the center of the warehouse. And all of a sudden, there's a flash of light, and when the light clears, that Watcher is back. Whereas before, the Watcher was like, maybe 10 feet tall. This time, the Watcher is like almost all the way up to the roof, 15, 20 feet tall or something like that. A gigantic thing. And I need all of you to please make resistance rolls to avoid going crazy with fear.
Is that resolved then?
Yes, resolve for sure. A 5, a 3, and a 5. Okay, so Izel takes 1 stress. Does that trauma her out?
I got a 2 more stress buffer before I'm done.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. Clank, you get 3 stress. Does that trauma you out? Okay. Benji as Coil gets 1 stress. Are you good? Okay, cool. So everybody's good. The Watcher shows up, and everybody who's not dead already from the lightning arcs looks and is just like, ah! They like grip their head. They turn around. They start to run out, but they're just running heedlessly into these lightning arcs. So just like a fly zapper or something. And they're all dying. Which one of the main 2 is the last one alive? Is it Fitz or is it Helker? I think it's Helker. Mr. Fitz died early. He cowered behind a desk, and the desk was metal. And that's the story of that. Helker was much more grounded and aware of what was going on. He's worked around electroplasmic machinery quite a bit. So he immediately is watching the arcs of lightning, and he's ducking around them and everything. But what is it that stops him right before he's about to escape the warehouse? Let's say, Clank, you get this one.
Clank pops his head up so Helker can see him.
Very nice. And so Helker like freezes in his tracks. Oh, you rotten dead. However, you all have to get out of here because surprise, next round those fires are going to spread and the lair is going to be destroyed. So if you don't get out, then you're all suffering some pretty serious harm.
I will prowl.
All right. Do you want to lead the group action?
No, I want to get me out.
Okay, so you're just going to get out on your own. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have as much stress to give as Benji does.
Sure. All right, so go ahead and give us your roll.
And that would make sense because Clank is not near the others. So
Yeah, I think so too.
okay, so prowling. Are we desperate now?
Yes, desperate for sure. And I think a limited effect because you are surrounded by lightning and under the terrifying presence of a gigantic Watcher demon thing.
So desperate, limited.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to push yourself or anything?
Limited effect. Will I get out or?
Limited effect. You're going to need a critical success.
Then I guess I'm pushing myself.
Okay. So push
that
yourself
bonus
to go
die?
up to a standard effect.
Yeah. Can I do that? It just says bonus die. Push yourself.
You can get a bonus die or increased effect with push yourself.
Okay. Increased effect then. So standard.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a daredevil, so I get a bonus die and a 6. Oh,
Okay,
crap.
cool. All right, so you barely make it out of there, but there are 3 moments where it's like you almost died.
And I assume it's from my own devices.
Yeah, absolutely. You trigger some traps that you forgot you set or something. I love that. Cool. All right, so Izel and Benji, what is it you are doing?
I mean, I guess maybe the gondola. What do you think, Baron?
Yeah.
Whatever we do, if we're doing it together, you're taking the lead.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So then, yeah, I'm gonna push the gondola thing because that should let me use finesse.
Sure, yeah. So you're gonna get the gondola out of there. I think this is also a desperate position. I think for you, it's probably a standard effect because you're so close to the outside already.
Okay.
Well, you are on the water though. Lightning is probably arcing like crazy to the water. So yeah, limited effect for you too.
Okay. And pushing yourself is 1 stress or 2?
2 stress.
2 stress. All right, I'm gonna push myself.
Okay, so you are on a standard position too, and Izel, you don't have to do anything here, but like you could, assist and give an additional die if you wanted to or something.
Yeah, I'm certainly doing everything I can to help us get away.
Okay, so if you want to assist, then you take 1 stress and you gain an additional die. Benji does.
Is that what you're doing, Baron?
You're lucky you're fun to play with.
So one bonus die.
Yep. So we're at desperate position, standard effect, and you get a bonus die.
All right.
Assistance.
Yep. Hold on to your butts.
Whew, that's a bunch of 5s. So there are consequences. What happens here? I think it's got to be harm. Desperate position.
Mm-hmm.
Severe harm. Oof. Yeah. No. It's a serious complication. You are on your way out. And then you get like outside of the port hole or whatever you need to go through to get out into the canal. You're headed down the canal and you think you can see Clank going back for the door of the warehouse. And then Clank hops down into your boat. And you look back and you realize it's Two-Toe. You see Two-Toe scramble to the door of the warehouse, throw the door open, and run inside just as an explosion tears the warehouse apart. And that is the serious complication. You lost a friend just now.
No. Not Two-Toe.
I think I'll be all right.
Oh no.
Way to go, Clank.
Can I resist that for him?
Well, yeah, you can protect, face danger for a teammate, step in to suffer a consequence in their place. So Benji rolled for this. So instead of, you could roll it the resistance, like on behalf of Benji, I suppose.
I will.
Okay.
What was that? A prowess one?
It was finesse, yeah, so prowess.
I need a 6 or I trauma out.
I will say also, if you don't get a critical, then you're probably going to suffer some kind of harm from this.
Well, I also get one less die, right? Because this was a desperate action.
Yes. Yeah.
No, not 6 die. -1. Nope. I trauma out.
So you trauma out, first of all. You do manage to grab onto Two-Toe.
So Clank, instead of dropping down into the boat, Clank sees Two-Toe.
Yeah. And you run over and you grab him and you're pulling him away. But that delay turns out was a really big deal because you get blasted off of your feet over the boat into the canal. And so I think you get knocked out because you trauma out, and Two-Toe is in the same boat, metaphorically speaking.
You say I take harm?
Yeah, I think you do. I think this is going to be level 2 harm. Call it like blasted, and it would be like a battered and broken kind of condition.
Well worth it to save Tuto.
Yeah. Okay. So, we're pretty late, and I don't want to play for much longer. So I want to do like downtime and all that stuff offline or at the beginning of next time. But I want to know, Benji, where do you take the crew in this gondola to your new lair? What like part of the city is it in?
I think maybe Silkshore.
Silkshore, so staying in the same district. Okay. You were in sort of like an abandoned industrial area, but Silkshore is also home to artists, the Red Light District. There's a lot of stuff to be offered in Silkshore. So, what like part of the district are you taking it to?
I think there's a place that. Okay, so I think there's like a warehouse where a lot of the like parade float style things are kept. There's a festival that happens maybe once a year or something with like all of these elaborate like boats.
Yeah.
And that's I think where we head.
Okay, cool. All right. So it's well maintained, but it's locked up and kind of just put in it's cold storage or something like that.
Yeah, there's like a 3/4 of the year or whatever when it's completely left alone.
Cool. So Izel, Benji takes you through the canals to this structure, and within the structure, there is like a space where you have been able to set up a quiet, out of the way new lair. What is this space like inside this warehouse?
As of right now, I feel like it's probably just a clutter of all the stuff we had pulled out of the old layer and kind of just stuffed in this corner.
Sure.
But I almost imagine that like part of it's kind of tarped off with part of like the tarp that would protect one of these. We've kind of either cut a portion or slung a portion over a rafter that has made a like makeshift wall. Maybe we put some bricks on the corners, kind of hold it in place. So like this is something you would like walk in and see. But it would look almost like there's no distance in between this tarp and the wall.
Yeah, okay.
We've got it set up so it's like a little alcove for now.
Sure. Okay, and that's where all your stuff is packed away. But it sounds like it's the sort of thing that like you'll want to expand upon. So, Clank, once you pull up and you unload and like put the last of your stuff down, you've woken up at this point. Actually, no. Clank gets dragged in and laid out on the futon that you moved over, because you had to keep the futon. And Tuto gets laid down on the floor beside him, and it takes like a full day for you to come to. What's the first thing what do you see when you open your eyes that tells you this is how I know this is where we're supposed to be?
I see the eek.
Nice. And where is it?
It's actually hanging from the rafters. There's not a lot of room in this lair.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah, so at that point, you open your eyes. We know that you're not dead. We follow your gaze up, and we can see the eek suspended on a chain, captured in the light of twilight. The night has come to an end, and it's that blind hour in between the two nights. But the eek looks kind of hopeful, suspended in the darkness. The absolute darkness all around. And we move out of the warehouse and we rapidly go through the streets of Silkshore, and we move past a burning wreck of a warehouse that the fire brigade is trying to extinguish. And we can see a dull green glow in the water nearby. And we know that to be the presence of the Watcher. But we keep moving and we go out into the void sea. And unfortunately, the glow beneath us never fades. In fact, it grows as we get further and further out until when we are beyond sight of Duskfall, it is nothing but a gigantic ring of light down below us. And we fade to black, and that's our session. So let's do our outros. And thank you everyone for watching. This was a lot of fun. I love the way that Blade surprises me every time. Like I had no idea this blackmail and old lair destroying, finding a new lair process was ever going to happen. So like, congratulations, you dudes. That was a really fun story. I'm Eli Kurtz. You can find me at Zap Dynamic on Twitter. You can find me now on Itch and Facebook and a bunch of other places. Baron, take it out for us.
What's up, everybody? I'm Baron. I play games. I was Ezel Valeris tonight, and may this be the dawn of a new day.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy.
Hello again, everybody. I am Jeremy. Like I said, I had the YouTube channel, the Erasmus Expeditions. I have an interview-ish part of a help action video series that I do this coming Friday that I have a gentleman known as DM Scotty who will be coming on. I'm very excited about that. And next Friday, I have session 7 of a campaign that has both Baron and Eli in it on the channel. So be sure to stop by and check those out. But yeah, it's this setting and the system go very, very well together. It's very easy to just invent some wacky, dark shit in this game, and it all seems plausible and it seems to fit. So it's always a lot of fun, especially playing with these two gentlemen and with you running the game, Eli. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for playing, man. And last but not least, Derek.
I'm Derek, part of the Mythic Gazetteer. You'll find me on some actual plays on Eli's YouTube channel, besides this game, and some on Jeremy's. So a lot of fun. Now Clank is even more like Benji. We are just one trauma away from retiring. So looking forward to next time. See what happens.
Cool. All right. Well, and so our tale draws to a close for now, but remember to tune in next time for Ring Down Below, presented by KMGX. Until then, keep your eyes on the canals. We're on the prowl.